All right, guys. Here we go. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Talk Time with Amy, Nikki, and Kelly tonight on Saturday
you forget
night.
my name?
Yeah, I was like, oh,
2.0.
What's her name?
Yeah, the 2.0. We'll do Saturday night with the ladies, Talk Time with the ladies,
Right.
and our special guest. We have a special guest tonight. Hi, Petty. Here she comes. She's here.
That's my petty girl.
Yeah, I love Petty. We have a special guest tonight. We are having on retired NYPD detective, mod extraordinaire for the Karen Reed trial all around, Scott. So it'll be super interesting to ask him all the questions, get his background, and just talk to him because he's always in chats and everybody knows him, and it's gonna be really, really, really fun to talk to him.
Yeah, he gets around.
Yeah, he gets around.
Wow, that's kind of crazy. Like, I didn't realize he was like
get me off the rails. You stop that. Yeah. Hey, Amanda. Good to see you. Olivia.
Everyone
loves
loves
acting
Scott.
up.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody
Hey,
loves
Stifler's
Scott.
mom.
Stifler's mom.
It's a great
Yeah,
name, by the way.
everybody loves
Okay,
Scott.
I wore the
right?
right shirt today. It says, I'm somebody's problem. So,
I'm always somebody's problem.
I was just gonna say that.
I don't know
Always.
whose problem. I'll say it's my husband's problem.
I was
but-
on the phone with
Pick
Kelly
somebody.
earlier, and I was on the phone with Kelly earlier, and it says, oh, you don't have an iPhone, but it says unstable, and she's like, Nikki's unstable, and I'm like, bitch, preach.
She is. I said, yes, Declan. She is unstable. Trust
Oh
me.
my
We
God.
all know.
Yeah.
And Declan
Okay.
just pranked Amy. So
Yeah.
he totally
He
got
did.
her. If you
Really
scroll
did.
back in the chat, he's like telling her that he was just going to hang out in the comments. And she's like, Kelly. And she called me. Are you leaving me? I was like, no, I'm coming on. She's like, and Declan comes in. It's me. Hi.
I'm the problem. It's
Such a
me.
brat.
He's so cute. All right, guys. So without further ado, let's bring up our homeboy, Scott. Hi,
Hey,
Scott.
what's happening? How are you?
Hi. It's so good to hang out.
Are we
Great
doing the
to be here.
JFK thing, Scott? I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm
Here
here.
we go.
Word.
Here we are.
Word.
I don't have any.
Well, now
I
you
don't
got to
either,
get
do I?
some.
Well, I have these ones, but it doesn't. I'm a stewardess.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna be just an attendant today. So what do you want to drink? You want anything to
Oh,
drink?
really?
I can get you drinks.
How about some what's
$8
that over there?
for a soda.
Hey, that's real cheap.
Yeah. Seriously.
So what's happening?
So yeah, we're
What's up,
here.
Scott?
It's Scott.
Double trouble
So you doing
and the
tonight?
boss.
Double
You
trouble.
got all of them.
You got the triple threat tonight, Scott.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's what I'm scared of.
How's your power outages?
How's
My
what?
husband's probably happy.
Your power outages.
The power outages aren't the problem right now. Basically, right
The
now
fire, I saw.
I just saw it it's probably about 20 minutes away from me. So
Yeah,
I mean, there's no way it's getting near here. But the problem is there's a lot of houses where the fire started and where it's at now.
Yeah, no, I
in the rich
thought
section.
of you once I heard it on the news. I'm like, oh my god, what's got?
Yeah, figure that one
A
out.
lot of damage. Yeah,
it's crazy.
I'm sorry that's happening.
I'd like to know who started that brush
It's
fire.
gonna be real interesting.
Could be a brush fire, real dry. Yeah,
Mr. I contained it.
It has been very dry, but I actually found something on a website where a guy turned around and his comment underneath the video of the fire was, it was something to the effect of, "I'm responsible for that." So I took a screenshot of it.
What?
Yeah, I've got the screenshot of the guy's name and his YouTube channel. He wrote underneath,
"Hello, New York Police Detective."
Once a cop, always a cop.
People
right?
Like they really aren't.
Yeah.
I would have never.
Hi, Melanie.
Hi,
Melanie's there? Hi.
Good to see you. Welcome.
I would have never thought to do that myself.
God.
Now I know what it feels like.
To see you.
Yeah, well,
Now it's
What?
like I'm
welcome
on the
to
hot
Scott.
seat.
Scott,
Yeah.
my husband's probably happy you're taking his spot right now, because usually it's us three talking or on the phone at some point during the night, and he's like, I have no idea what's going on.
Oh, I don't mind.
So,
Is that I can't see. Does that say
IP. It
Oh
is.
my God.
Hi,
I mean,
IP.
you know
And
who
our
that is.
Lula Bell.
You know who the IP
Yes.
is a retired cop. She's female.
Mhm.
And we met probably about 15 years ago, if not more.
No
And
kidding.
we actually worked together for one tour together. We worked 12 hours together on Memorial Day weekend in Coney Island, and we had actually bumped into each other previously when she was working inside, but we didn't know each other. And I got to the detail late, and she got there late, so we were the last two cops to be assigned. So when you're at a detail and you're late, the bosses kind of frown upon that, so they probably give you the worst area. And believe it or not, they actually put us in front of what's called, I think, the Himalaya. It's a ride that goes up and down with the music and then goes backwards. All
And
right,
it goes backwards. My favorite
goes
ride.
I
backwards.
miss those.
Well, on Memorial Day weekend, that is when all the gangs come to Coney Island, and that's where they gather because that has the biggest sound system. So I had no idea. I mean, I've done details, but that was the only Memorial Day weekend I did. So the IP and I are standing there, and it's kind of awkward when you work with somebody that you don't know, but we kind of clicked like that. And after that, we just bumped into each other, at work, and then we actually found each other on Twitter probably about 5 years ago before I was banned, and ever since then we're in a group chat. Yeah,
you're banned on Twitter.
I am.
We'll have to discuss that later. We'll pin it.
I'm banned.
I need to know the details.
I'm banned on Twitter with 3 accounts. Yeah.
Hey,
All right, time
Blue.
listen, never give
You're
up.
banned on 3
make
accounts.
a new one.
3 accounts.
Yeah,
Yes.
you deserve an award. That's amazing.
We can come up with
Yeah.
another
Yeah.
email. We got another email.
Right.
I tried emailing it, but I appealed to it. I said, listen, these were my names. I'd like to appeal them. And Elon wasn't having it.
Well, Facebook just took one of my other account. I don't know
I
why.
have no social media. I have no social media whatsoever. YouTube is the only social media I have. No Facebook. I think I had Facebook for about 5 days back in 2007 and
Jim is
2008.
here.
That was it.
Yeah, I don't know why. So like about a year and a half ago, my Facebook I had for 15 years, like the one I've had since the beginning. They all of a sudden took it. And then last week they said they were going to close my page down again. And I'm like, what? And so I sent my ID to prove it was me. And they said it wasn't me. And I was like, okay, I swear it's me. I love him so much. I want to squeeze him. So yeah, they told me it wasn't me.
Jim.
Huh?
Oh no, Jim, Clown Jim. Oh, I thought that. Yeah, Clown Jim.
Go, Jim.
So why don't we get started?
Sure.
Scott, why don't you tell us? So you retired as an NYPD
I'm retired
detective.
almost 8 years from the NYPD as a detective.
Okay.
I'll give you a little background about myself. I graduated high school in 1984. Okay. My first.
Jesus Christ, you just aged yourself.
Yeah, no, I know.
Yeah.
I was waiting to hear it from the three of you.
Oh my God.
Brought up Catholic, went to Catholic grammar school, went to Catholic high school for 2 years, but I had a problem with it. The fact that going to an all boys Catholic high school was not for me. So when 10th grade came around, there was a slight problem. My grades weren't that great, and having vodka and orange juice on a school bus with the seniors and juniors, the brothers weren't too happy with that. So it was kind of asked to leave, which worked out great for me because I went to the high school in town, and it was predominantly 90% minority, and we would arrest them. And I had grown up playing baseball and basketball with everybody in the school, and it got me set for my first command, which was in Brooklyn North in the transit train at District 33. But prior to that, in 1984, summer of 84, my best friend was hit and killed by a train. He had gone to a doctor or dentist appointment with his brother, And they came when they were coming back. They got to the railroad crossings, and he and his brother had an argument. So he jumped out of the car and went to cross the tracks and saw one train coming. So he looked one way, and he got hit by the train the other way. Now the reason why
Wow.
I'm bringing
So
the reason
sorry.
why I'm bringing this up is because even though that happened, I didn't think about it for years. So I joined the fire department in '88, and there was a lot of stuff that we were involved in. We were involved in cutting people out of cars. The first 2 DOAs I ever saw were 2 New York City cops that were off duty. They had graduated the police academy earlier in the day. They had gone to a club in what's called Levittown, New York. It was called Spit, where I actually met my wife. But what happened was on the way back, they wanted to go onto a parkway, and they tried taking what we call Dead Man's Curve at about 100-something miles an hour, hit a tree. We got a call for a car fire. Now, I was what was called a probationary member. I was out of the second firehouse. It was so cold out that night, nobody showed up. Everybody that showed up for that call went to the headquarters. So I'm standing around, and the chief gets there, it's a call fire, blah, blah, blah. And he puts a radio code over the air that I never heard before. So I went to the board and I looked on the screen. I'm like, call for the fire marshal forthwith. I'm like, I got to check this out. So I jumped in my car. I drove up onto the parkway. I parked a little bit away so I wasn't in anybody's way. And as I'm walking towards where the fire was burning in the car, people started coming up from the neighborhood down below. And they asked me who I was. And I told them, like, you got to come over here. There's a guy in the bushes. So they took me over to the bushes. And in the bushes was a guy who was obviously dead of a broken neck. Okay.
Wow.
So I
That's
went over to
heavy.
the chief. Yeah. I went over to the chief. I tell the chief, hey, listen, chief, there's a guy in the bushes that's DOA. He goes, all right. He goes, tell the state troopers. So I tell the state trooper, and now the car fire's out. And now there's this smell. And if you've ever smelled somebody burning, that's a smell you will never get rid of. It turned out to be the guy in the driver's seat. So he was obviously DOA. So, the county more came and they took him out of the car. And when you're going underneath what was left in the seat to try to, pull everything out so nothing else burns in there, that's where they found their badges and their guns. And it was melted. It was melted to the floorboard.
Oh.
So that was my indoctrination to dealing with dead bodies.
Wow.
So I did that. I was a fireman I was a volunteer fireman for 25 years. But in 1991, I was hired by the New York City Transit Police, which I didn't even think about back then, because I think it was like an omen, if you believe in it, because my career was basically investigating what my best friend was hit by a train.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty freaky.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got
So what do you want to know?
That's a lot. It's like, welcome.
Yeah.
You throw you right in, right? Sink or swim.
Sink or swim. Believe it or not, that's how it is. And it's even more so in the city. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
So from the fire department, yeah, that's and you knew them.
I didn't know those two.
That's
I didn't know
tragic.
those two guys. It's just that I knew that they were cops.
Tragic.
So
it was, you went into. Yeah.
You cut out.
Yeah. So what did you do after the fire department? You went to.
All right. So I was in the fire department.
Am I back?
What I did was I took the civil service test to become a New York City police officer in, I think it was '89. Well, there were a bunch of guys in my fire department that were New York City cops. They were transit cops, and they were a couple of housing cops. And it was almost 2 years to the day that my best friend at that time and I were hired by the New York City Transit Police. And two of the guys that were in our fire department were very influential with the bosses of the New York City Transit Police. So we were hired by the Transit Police. We went to the academy, and instructors, we didn't put 2 and 2 together, but instructors knew who we knew. So they used us as like play dummies when it came time for the tactic works. They would toss us around, and we couldn't figure out why. I mean, usually they toss around a big guy. I was 5 foot when I graduated the academy in '91. I was 5'5", 130 pounds soaking wet. So I wasn't big at all. Yeah, I wasn't big at all. So why are you picking on me? I'm a little guy. You got all these guys over here that are monsters. We had one guy that played for the New York Jets. There were other guys who were bodybuilders, and I'm getting tossed around like a rag doll. And then we found out when we, right before we graduated, it's called Gun and Shield Day. You come in full in your uniform, and they put the shield on you, and then they give you your gun, and the instructors, like shake your hand as you walk out. And they're like, "Hey, we're friends with your friend Dougie. He told us you were coming." We were like, "Oh man, no wonder why we got our chops broken." But it definitely worked out.
That must have been really special to get shielded, your gun, and the whole process of that. That must have been really, really special.
It was.
So after that, where'd you go? You went to transit, you said?
I went to the we were the transit police at the time. So I went to what was called District 33. District 33 is based on the border of East New York and Brownsville, Brooklyn. Okay. At the time, East New York was like just letting up, becoming the homicide capital of the world. That's where everybody was going to get crack cocaine. Okay. Brownsville, which was just to the west of that, was a lot of guns, a lot of drugs. But when you're in transit, the reason why transit, I think, is kind of more dangerous than being, in housing or in the NYPD precinct is you're covering more of an area with less bodies. There were precincts, like the 7-5 precinct, say they turned out 8 or 10 cars per tour. We turned out 2, but we were covering the distance of 10 precincts. So 2 cars covering that, everybody else is on foot.
It's a lot.
If you call for help, 2 things. 1, you better know how to talk your way out of it. Or 2, you better know how to fight, because it's going to take a couple of minutes, even if they go over the radio and ask the housing and city cops to respond because they're too far away. So you had to know how to talk. You had to know how to talk.
And you're plain clothed at this point?
No, I didn't go into plain clothes. I didn't get plain clothes until 95. I did it off. Okay. I did it off and on. Like when we came off probation, we did a rookie tour, which was 8 at night to 4 in the morning. So I did that in 91, 92. In like March or April of 93, they took us off the rookie tour and let us pick a tour. So I chose 4 to 12 because 4 to 12s, those were the guys I worked with the most. I saw how they worked. I liked them, and they were the busiest. And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be busy. I didn't want to be standing there looking around waiting for something to happen. There was always something to do on the 4 to 12s. 95.
That's when stuff pops off.
It does.
That's the time. Yeah.
It does. It does. So in 94, I started we worked 5 days on, 2 days off. So I would work, say, 3 days a week in uniform and 2 days in plain clothes. Now, when you work plain clothes just like that, they expect you to go out and you and your partner to lock somebody up or write 5 summonses apiece that day. So the quota thing was real. Now it's called, I think they're called performance goals now. We had quotas when I was working. Flat out, they were quotas. Now, when you worked steady plain clothes, like when I got into September 95, when I worked all over Brooklyn, we had a quota of 4 arrests a month and a minimum of 12 summonses. So now you actually have to go out there and you've got what we call ice picking. We had to ice pick people. Stuff that you normally would overlook if you were in uniform. Now you've got to ice pick somebody, and you know what? They got to go to jail because when you work plain clothes, you either have Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or Sunday, Monday off. I had Saturday, Sunday off. With 4 years on, that's unheard of.
Right.
So I wanted to keep my weekends off. Excuse me.
Yeah.
So we,
actual ice picking. What does that mean you do?
Ice picking would be like if there was somebody riding in between train cars. Plain clothes, when you're plain clothes, anti-crime, you're supposed to be out there looking for somebody that's going to rob somebody, do a cell phone snatch. Back then, chain snatches were big. There weren't really too many cell phone snatches. 8-ball jackets.
So profiling.
Basically it's profiling.
Pocket pickers.
That's hard to do, especially in Brooklyn. It was more the pickpockets were more primarily in Manhattan because everybody's bunched together. We were
My
working
dad got pickpocketed in Manhattan.
yeah, I believe it. Primarily, we were working 11:30 in the morning to 8 at night. So in Brooklyn, that's kind of after the rush hour going to work. We were primarily there because there was a lot of school crime. There was a lot of gang fights, and we would get used to that. They would turn around and be like, "All right, we got intel that there's going to be the two schools fighting at this train station." So they would send 4 of us over to the area, and like you see right now, I'd be in a hoodie. And we would just go to the area and just wait for something to happen, or follow the kids and wait for something to happen. Excuse me.
We're all
Sorry, I
we're spinning.
screwed
Where
it all
we
up.
going?
Sorry. I was gonna make Scott big, but I don't know how.
No,
Keep going.
no,
I apologize. I don't
so
know what I'm
we
doing.
we did a lot of plainclothes work. It started out with doing anti-crime work. They wanted the big collars. They wanted people arrested for having
The
guns.
Advantage Boys.
They wanted people for actually doing robberies and grand larcenies, like a chain snatch, a chain around your neck. Somebody comes up and takes that chain off of you. That's a grand larceny. But here's the difference when they start playing numbers games. If Amy had a chain around her neck and a guy comes up and snatches her chain and takes off running, that's a grand larceny because it's property taken from your person. If Amy had a chain around her neck and the guy comes up to grab it and she grabs and holds onto her chain, or she grabs the guy's arm and she struggles and the guy snaps the chain and takes off, that goes from a felony grand larceny to a felony robbery because now physical force was used to retaining your property. So it becomes a numbers game. It's still a felony, but they want to keep the robbery numbers down. Now, it's kind of hard. I mean, there's no real way to say this delicately. So when you turn around and you put 2 white guys in a predominantly minority area, they know who we are. So now you've got to play the game because remember we're
Even if
we're in
you
the
weren't, they'd be
subway.
like, "That's a cop."
Yeah, even if they didn't know you, stand out a little bit.
So you gotta hide. You gotta hide, or you gotta play the role. So
I mean, even like in Boston, if you're like in like the hood and you see some like random white guy on the corner in Mattapan, you're like, "That's cop." You know what I mean?
they know who you are. So
yeah,
you got to play the role. You got to play a game, or you got to go to an area where you can hide and look down onto the train station, or hide in a transit authority locker room. So we got a lot of good arrests like that. And that I did that from 95 to 2000. And at 2000, I got tired of playing the numbers game. I didn't want to hear, "Hey, listen, you got to go out and you got to lock up 4 more people for the month, or you got to write 5 more summonses for the month." I got tired of it. I just wanted to actually ask to go back to my old command in East New York, and I wanted to be in uniform. And I had a friend of mine call the chief of the transit. At that time, we were NYPD. In 95, we were taken over by the New York City Police Department. So in 2000, when I asked to go back, I had a friend of mine call up the chief of the transit bureau, and I had to have a talk with him. I had to explain to him what was going on, and he got me back there. It took me 2 weeks, but I went back there. But there became a little bit of a problem. The commanding officer at the command that I was going back to, he knew I had done anti-crime, and he had just gotten to the command that took it over, and they had just put a whole bunch of new guys, or guys that were new to doing anti-crime, new to plain clothes. So he's like, yeah, you're not going to uniform on the 4 to 12 tour. You're going to train these guys. And I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. I said, no disrespect. I go, thank you. Listen, I don't want to hear anything about numbers. And the lieutenant said, listen, let me talk to you afterwards. So the lieutenant pulled me outside. He goes, listen, the inspector knows who you are. You know what you're doing. The deal is these guys want to learn how to do it. They will take all the arrests as long as you show them how to play the game. And you know what? He turned out to be the best boss I worked for that I ever worked for. The guy stood up for us. Sergeants hated him because he treated us like gold. If he turned around and said, I need you to go out there and stand in the middle of the parkway and count the cars, we would, because this guy did everything he could for us. We didn't have an unmarked car. Transit commands did not have an unmarked car. So we were getting killed with a lot of robberies when I first went into that unit. So he turned around and he goes, I understand that it's hard for you guys to fit in, because it turned out our team was 4 white guys. He goes, what would help you guys make these, robbery collars? I go, to be quite honest with you, get us an unmarked car. We could rotate it. 2
Right.
guys in the car and put 2 guys in the train, and we'll just work it that way. The first day he turned around and he got us a yellow cab. I don't know if you've ever seen it. If
Perfect. I used to take cabs in high school.
If you go on YouTube, there are yellow cabs that you could catch that are NYPD cars. You'll see the lights and hear the siren. All right. He got us a yellow cab. The first day that he got us that car, he made a deal with us. He goes, you can have the car for the rest of the month. He goes, all right, say the numbers were like 3 and 10 for the month. He goes, as soon as you guys each have your 3 collars or 10 summonses or 2 collars or 15 summonses for the month, the car is yours for the month. We were done in less than 4 days. My partner and I banged out all those collars, all that activity, and we had the taxi cab for the rest of the month.
That's amazing.
The first day,
That's amazing.
The first day we were going off duty. It was like 10 to 8 at night. Job came over the radio of a guy on the train who had been robbed a week earlier and seized the guys that robbed him. We literally got into a pursuit with the train, chasing it down, trying to go back and forth with the guys. So we're in a yellow cab. In Manhattan, the yellow cabs, people expect to see a yellow cab as a police car. Not in East New York, not in Bushwick, and not in Bed-Stuy. I'm driving like a maniac. There's a light on the dashboard, siren. We chase the train down, run upstairs, and there's a guy standing there because they held the train. He's like, we're like, you were the police. Who robbed it? So there's 2 guys in bubble jackets, right? We're like, okay, we have them open the train doors, take him out at gunpoint, cuff him up, and the smell of weed was like you wouldn't believe. It smelled like somebody was smoking it. So we're like, all right.
Like
so
I'm high.
Yeah. It was a contact high instantaneously. Turns out that the guys were dealing. They had the bubble jackets and they had glass jars in their jackets up and down the sleeves filled with weed. But it was so potent, you could smell it through the glass. It was insane.
That's crazy.
Question, is it recreationally legal in New York now? Because our entire state smells like it.
It's recreational
all the time.
Legal. I think it was like
the only place
4 years ago.
Not recreational legally is Florida. Like
And New Hampshire.
You still have to have a medical marijuana card.
Yeah, it's recreational. Recreational kicked in about 4 years ago. Yeah,
and we've had it on the ballot every time there's a vote, and every time it's shot down.
Yeah,
and I'm like, what is the big deal? It's a plant.
Wait. So fun fact. Sorry, I gotta fix this. My son was toying with it. Fun fact: we can buy cannabis everywhere. I mean, I have like 3 dispensaries by me, but you cannot buy flavored tobacco or vape or anything like that in the state of Massachusetts. So everything has to be tobacco flavor, and they don't sell like Newports or anything. But I can go buy an ounce.
Yeah, figure that one out.
Make that make sense.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No.
Anyway,
nothing makes sense anymore.
Yeah.
Well, and the thing is I would like my kids, my older boys that, 20, they're 25, 22. I know that they smoke weed. So I'm like, I don't care. It doesn't bother me. Like, I would rather it just be legal because that way they don't get in trouble for it. That's my only thing.
And that way they don't go to a dealer that, that way they don't go to some guy on the street, Exactly. Exactly.
And I remember being in high school and being like run down and like chased by police because we were smoking in like a park, and they would chase us for like ever and just take it. I mean, it was nothing crazy, but
one of my buddies,
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Growing up in there was a park about 5 blocks away from me, and that's where when we were in high school, we'd go there with cases of beer. I worked at a beer distributor. My brother worked there, and a couple other people. And a few friends of ours were known to dabble in weed back then. I may or may not have. But what happened was the area cop.
I know nothing. I heard nothing.
The area cop back then was a real prick. And he didn't lock us up. He would turn around, he'd make us pour out the beer. It was worse making us pour out the beer, or the guys were mad that they had to put the joint on the ground and step on it so they couldn't use it again. Fast forward about 15 years later, okay? I'm at my buddy's son's baptism party. and I sit down at the table to have eat. My buddy sits down, and the guy sits down across from me, and I turn around and I immediately recognize this guy. I hadn't seen the guy in 15 years. It was the cop. So I turn to my buddy. I go, "Yo, is that guy's name Charlie?" He goes, "Yeah. How do you know?" I'm like, "Kurt, who is that guy?" He's like, "That's my uncle." I go, "Kurt, your uncle used to chase me out of the park by my house when I was a teenager." He's like, "Get the hell out of here." So he turns around, he introduces us, and I met his uncle used to chase me around when I was a teenager.
Now,
It's so funny.
is New York, like, I know it's this huge city, but is it still feel small even though it's a big city to you because you're there?
I'm on
Because
Long
Orlando
Island.
is a big city, but it's
Yeah.
small.
I'm
Like,
on Long Island. I'm in Suffolk County, Long Island. All right. I grew up in
So
Nassau
you would
County.
drive from.
I would
Okay.
drive when I first started in '91. I lived in Nassau, so I would drive. It was about a half-hour ride because I would fly in. So it was a half-hour ride from where I lived into East New York. When I moved to Suffolk, that half hour became an hour. So it wasn't that bad. But the problem was when I went to the detective squad in '06, detectives we had it good compared to everybody else. A precinct detective squad does 4 and 2s. Their first 2 tours are, I believe, 4 to 12. Day number 3 is 7 to 3, if I remember correctly, and day number 4 is a 7 to 3. So what the precinct guys do is they make their arrests on day number 2. Okay, they stay on the midnight tour and overtime and sleep, processing the arrest, and then they roll into their day tour on straight time.
Wow.
Because the people ride the train Monday through Friday, they gave us Friday, Saturday off or Sunday, Monday off. So I had Friday, Saturday off from 06 to 17 when I retired, which was
Wow.
great. The only problem
Yeah,
was the hours. We did a week of day tours, which was 8 in the morning to 4:30 in the afternoon, and a week of 4 in the morning to 12:30. The problem was because of how far away I lived, for me to be in work at 8 o'clock in the morning, I had to be up at 4, on the road at 5. If I got on the road at any later than 5:15, I was going to be late for work. So that's what screwed up my whole system,
I grew up an hour from Orlando. My dad was a firefighter paramedic at Disney, so he
Okay.
had to drive in early mornings, but he was on 24 off 48, so it made it easier. And then he was also a paramedic at our city, a firefighter at our city, so he would be able to take an extra shift there, and then he could hang out and do whatever. So.
Yeah.
Half the time, I'd end up finding him watching soap operas during the day. So
we did that.
my friend's an EMT, and he says the same thing.
There's nothing
So
wrong with
after all, so after this, you went to he went to his own YouTube channel.
hi, buddy.
Yeah.
You feel like do toy reviews or something? Okay, buddy, go ahead, go lay down.
Well,
Okay,
can I
hold on one second? Okay,
I
Just give me a
don't
second.
know. You're fine. I don't know if it's something that you want to talk about, but I mean, you're in New York. Can we talk about where it happened with you and where you were with 9/11?
9/11.
That's
I
something?
really didn't have a big part in 9/11. 9/11 at the time, the day so September 10th, my team was working 4 to 12s. So I probably got home at like we got off duty say 11:30. By the time I got home, it was 12:30. I literally woke up at I think it was like 8:25 on 9/11. Got up, went out to the living room, turned on the TV. The TV popped on, and all I see is one of the towers on fire. So I'm like, I just woke up. I don't want to see whatever crappy movie this is. I changed the channel, and the next channel
And it was
had
on
it
another one.
and it was on another one. Now I'm like, something ain't right. So I put on the local news station, and they had it on, and I was like, oh my God, this can't be real. I ran, jumped into the shower, kissed the wife goodbye, and drove into work.
Crazy.
Yeah, it
Olivia
was insane.
Olivia said she was born 2 days before 9/11 and brought home on 9/11.
My uncle's birthday was 9/11.
Wild.
It's my goddaughter has the same 9/11 birthday too.
My uncle's birthday was 9/11.
I
mean,
was
the
in
tragedy of it all.
Alaska when 9/11 hit, and just a quick little funny. This will make you guys kind of laugh, but in Alaska, it's 4 hours behind New York time.
Wow.
So it's like 4 a.m. for us, right?
Yeah.
And back then, we lived on Kodiak Island, so we didn't have cell phones then. We had to get up and
Wow.
go across the room to get the phone, you know.
Yeah, I remember those days.
That's how old I feel.
Please.
And so I remember my phone was ringing in the middle of the night, and I'm like, "What is going on?" So I was pregnant with my my second child, Connor, and I got up and got the phone. But you know when you're so dead asleep that you don't know what you're hearing, but you're like you hear something and you kind of make it up in your head.
Yep.
So this is my family laughs at me to this day. My friend Jeanette, who lived with us, her dad was up the East Coast. He had called her. She called me. She said, "Kelly, the terrorists are attacking us."
Yeah.
But all I heard was Paris is attacking us.
Oh my God.
What? And she's like, she said it again. She's like, Paris or terrorists are attacking us. And I was like, why is Paris attacking us?
Yeah.
Didn't they give us the Statue of Liberty? And she was like, Kelly, wake up. And I was like, okay, what's going on? I don't know what's happening right now. And so I can't live it down to this day. Like I literally thought
good.
She told me
That's
that
funny.
Paris was attacking us.
funny.
And I'm like, what the heck? So
I was actually where I was, the terrorists actually slept in the town where I went to school, and the FBI. So we got evacuated because it was wild. The FBI everywhere. And they surrounded like a mobile, and the guys stayed at a hotel, like maybe in walking distance of my high school.
Wow.
Yeah, it was wild. It was so crazy.
Amanda,
Anyway, we've been talking. Yeah, let's get some Karen Reed maybe, or when we talk about your being a detective or whatever, or we can just start in with Karen Reed.
I'll just give you a background with what it's like being a detective. I actually started in the detective squad in February of 06. I got there. There was a big push to put detectives in 06. And I actually got there a month earlier than everybody else because I knew somebody.
Say hi. Go.
So I
say
hi.
Hey, how are you?
All right. Say bye.
Bye. Also, what is this?
I started in February of 06. My first arrest was my second day in the office. And you know how you say you usually hear cops say I never lost a night's sleep over somebody you arrested. I lost a night's sleep over this arrest. My second day in the office, I get into the office at about 10 minutes to 8. The tour's about to start. And the senior guy that's training me is in there. He's getting settled at his desk. And the boss, we shared an office. We shared a building with another command. And the lieutenant comes in. He goes, listen, we've got an assault going on at this train station. And you guys need to get over there now. He goes, they're calling up over the radio saying there's blood everywhere. We race over there, and it turns out to be two girls that they were probably middle school at the time. One girl had, jumped the other girl on a moving train on the way to school. Another girl defended herself. But what happened was the girl that defended herself, in the process of doing it, she grabbed the other girl's earring and ripped it out of her ear.
Oh,
you take that hurt
thinking about it.
Yeah, remember, they were
that's the first thing to go.
They had no idea. They were younger girls. So they turned around and they knew each other. And the guy that was training me says, yo, we're not going to take this. He goes, let patrol handle it. The uniforms boss didn't want anything to do with it. They stuck it on us, and they let the girl leave to go to school. So we had to go to the hospital, interview the girl that's ear was, sliced open. And the guy, Steve, turns to me and he goes, you got your first collar coming up. I go, what are you talking about? He goes, we got to go lock her up. I go, what do you mean? The girl jumped it. She admitted it. He goes, yeah, but you're talking about the girl's got permanent damage. It's at least assault to a felony. You got to go lock her up. We went to the school, spoke to the principal. The principal couldn't believe it. Teachers came out and were like, you can't take her. You can't take her. We were like, listen, we have no choice. Get her parents on the phone. Let me explain to her parents. I felt so bad about locking this girl up. We had to handcuff her. She was like 14 years old at the time. Handcuff her, bring her back to the command. And the boss was cool. He understood. My boss was cool. That was the thing. Uniform bosses really didn't tell us what to do when our boss was around. because our boss would be like, I don't care if you're lieutenant. I'm the sergeant in charge of the detective squad. You answer to me. And she was charged as a juvenile, and I actually Googled her. Excuse me. She's actually a doctor
She
now.
was charged as a juvenile. Thank God.
Yeah, we charged her as a juvenile.
You
Yeah,
never know. Yeah.
yeah.
Thank God.
Hey
Excuse me.
Scott,
So that was your first arrest.
In the detective squad. Yeah.
As
What's
in
up, trouble?
the
Just a
squad, yeah.
quick announcement. Declan will not be in the chat. I made sure of it. I
Oh.
just texted my husband. So
Oh, you're good.
I was like, if
Scott,
he comes
I-
on, it's not
I mean,
me.
but they're being a little
Scott,
crazy.
I
you
got a
know?
question.
Children.
Get
One was
trouble.
like G-rated activated. I'm like, no, don't worry about that. I'll make sure. So
Yeah.
Trouble. Get trouble.
I want to know how many people you tuned up.
How many
It
YouTube?
depended
like
on
that
where I was
question.
working. It depended on what happened. I mean, I don't know if you heard me on other people's channels when I called.
I did on Will's. I remember you talking about one of them.
So you heard that?
I've heard. Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, other people. Yeah, you can tell it again.
I
there was
haven't heard it.
there was a thing that when I was a cop, obviously it was a lot different than it is today. There were rules, and the perps knew what the rules were. The rule number one is don't fight a cop. Number two is don't run from a cop. Number three is don't beat up a female cop. Okay, those were the rules. And if you broke the rules, they knew that they were going to get a beating. We used to have this thing that was taught to us by a senior guy. There was this cop, and he was probably like 5'3", a little bit shorter than me, Spanish guy, and he ran this
Oh, we lost
one
them.
train line. Everybody
Okay.
respected him the whole 9 yards. He would tell you what to do. He would tell you what to do just by looking at him. And Ralphie got into a fight with a kid out in Canarsie. And my partner and I were in the car. We flew out to Canarsie. We get there. The 6'9" precinct helped Ralphie cuff the kid up. And Ralphie's hat's crunched. Ralphie's got a mark on his face. And back then we had the Chevy Impalas. It was like probably 93, 94.
Yes.
And you got to remember something.
Fucking right.
There was no anti-lock braking. There was no ABS. And the
Oh my
transit
God.
cars were different from the housing and the city cars. Our cars had the plexiglass partition. So Ralphie is in the back, and Ralphie's like, brake check. So I didn't hear it. My partner Jay hears brake check. And
That's
I'm like, "What?"
amazing.
He's like, brake check. I'm like, oh man, here we go. So Ralphie puts on his seatbelt in the back seat. I put on my seatbelt. We get over to a block that's a really long block. So I just gunned the gas, and I'd yell brake check. And as soon as I yelled brake check, I hit the brakes, locked up the brakes, and the guys right into the plexiglass, right into the plexiglass. Yeah, and
Oh,
that was
damn.
yeah.
That
Yeah.
hurts. Yeah.
Yeah, it hurts. Yeah, and you
Yeah.
and they
But they
got
probably
the point.
deserved it. So there's that.
They got
I
got
don't
the point. They got the point.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what? There were rules back then, and they were also wearing cameras.
Impala.
And one
right.
the one major rule.
Wait a
that
minute.
we
Wait a
would
minute.
draw-
Time out. Did you say that back in they were wearing cameras?
No, there were no cameras back then.
Oh, there were no cameras.
There
I was
were no
about to say
cameras
that
back
was
then.
like really far.
A lot of stores didn't even have cameras on the exterior of their buildings back then. You know,
Back
it
in
was-
the
it was
day
very
when you
rare.
guys were not
Chris
born
Albert,
yet,
you
and
hear
Scott
that?
and I were still Scott and I were still on the earth, and you guys
Yeah.
were still just thought of.
Yeah,
We had no cell phones. And
no cell
we had-
I was
phones.
born
you
in
know,
yeah.
We had to send
camera,
smoke
that.
signals. We had to send smoke
we
signals.
did. We sent smoke signals for friends. We walked uphill both way in the snow in Florida.
In the
Right.
snow.
In a blizzard.
On the
Kelly, you look
second
good for
Tuesday-
60.
On the second Tuesday of every week. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's how I feel that old, honestly.
You know what? I
No,
really
same
don't feel
though.
it.
Same.
There was a rule that
I mean,
that-
policing
there was-
must have been hard back then, Scott, because
No,
there
it was
wasn't
a
all
lot
this
easier.
technology and there wasn't all this help. You know what I mean?
it,
You actually
we
had to
didn't have
run
a
these
beeper.
people down.
it was a lot
I had a
easier back
beeper.
then. It was a lot
You're
easier
fun too.
because there were no cameras back then. And even if there were, you really
Oh, it was
didn't worry
easier?
about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what it is? Knowledge is a very powerful weapon. If you know the law as a cop, there is nothing that you can't apply to somebody that's pissing you off. Okay, I'll give you
Yeah.
for instance. All right.
No evidence.
A big thing in the transit police was people not paying to ride the subway. They would jump over the turnstile or cock the wheel and get in. Okay. Now, here's what people didn't realize, and they probably still don't realize it to this day. In New York City, when you're working in transit in the subway, there are 3 different rule books you could pull from. You could pull from the New York State penal law, which makes not paying your fare to ride the subway an A misdemeanor. So that's an arrest, okay? So that's an A misdemeanor. New York City rules and regulations is for not paying your fare to ride the subway is a summonsable offense. It's a civil summons, okay? And then you have New York City criminal courts. Not paying your fare to ride the subway could be a criminal court must appear summons. Now, because we were the transit police and we worked for the New York City Transit Authority, the MTA at the time, they wanted summonses that were civil to be issued. And if the person had a warrant, then you would lock them up. Now, here's the game. Let's just say Trouble over there. Well,
Which one? You got 3 of us.
No.
one.
I'm
Pick one.
trouble.
I hope you got the bail money, Scott.
Here we go. Let's just say
What's the spinner?
let's just
I'm
say
all up
Trouble
12.
on let's just say Trouble on the bottom jumped over the turnstile. Okay.
Which she probably would.
Excuse me.
We all know it. She probably would.
Excuse me. Trouble jumped over the turnstile. Okay. And she's wearing gang colors. Okay. Now, technically, I could toss her, and toss her means I could check her for weapons. All right. If I'm going to arrest her for the misdemeanor of
Listen,
theft.
I only got 2 weapons, Scott.
Oh my God. Yeah, great. So, but what you do is you call a female.
Oh, I love you so much.
So we would call a
Right,
female.
because you can't search her, right?
No, we can.
Okay.
We can. That's what.
Oh, you
that's
can. Okay.
That's one of the false things that people think, that a male can't search a female. That's absolutely
Yeah,
false.
I always thought that.
I have searched a female because I had no choice. And it didn't happen that often. But when you do it, you're also doing it. We would do it in public with the boss there and with the person with people there watching, so they know, and we have witnesses that we didn't do anything inappropriate.
Sure.
That's how
Yeah,
we.
you're not
do
doing
it
like
that.
strip searches.
No.
And like
Strip
nowadays,
searches-
people use that. Like
Oh, yeah.
they try to say, no one saw you do it, no one did it. So it's so much worse now because people do depend on the cameras and they do think that you have to have them. But in some instances, you do. Like it's give or take, I guess.
It's funny that Amy just brought that up. Believe it or not, NYPD at the time, I don't know if the rules changed yet, but you didn't have to strip search anybody unless you were in narcotics. When you were in narcotics, every person that the narcotics unit arrested, they had a strip search because they could be holding. All right. So if
Right.
Trouble jumped a turnstile and she had an 8-ball in her pocket, I could turn around and have her searched in front of the desk, just normally. I would have a female search in front of the desk.
Now you're talking my language, Scotty.
Yeah. Don't threaten Nikki with a good time, Scott.
Wow.
She hasn't been to Georgia in a couple days. So
Oh,
yeah.
that explains it. Lord Piston must be real happy right about now. But yeah, NYPD, if you were doing a strip search, your boss had to authorize it, okay? And he would have to make a blotter entry in saying that I'm authorizing Detective so-and-so to perform a strip search on this person for this reason. And it's going to be witnessed by this supervisor. I had a strip. I really didn't want to do it. That's why I didn't go to narcotics. I had to strip search 2 people. One of them had an 8-ball that I grabbed him up. He had an 8-ball in his knapsack. I had no idea how to strip search him because I wasn't in narcotics. So we take him, we go to process him, and at the time we had just been taken over by NYPD. So we weren't allowed to process arrests at our commands. We were going to precincts to process. So I go to my boss picks me up, takes me to the 8-1 precinct. They're like, "What do you got?" I'm like, criminal possession controlled substance. Pull out the 8-ball. He goes like, the boss goes, "All right, you got to have it tested by narcotics, and you got to go strip search him." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, you got."
Did you go bend over and cough like that whole situation, or was it just?
I had to take him into a public bathroom inside the precinct with my boss, and had to strip search him.
Damn.
I honestly don't want to know.
That
all
is
you
like
have
it
to do
has to be
for
the
a
most
strip search.
violating thing.
Now you understand why I didn't go to
Fuck
narcotics.
around and find out.
Oh, I did.
I don't know. Well, after
actually
like
know.
listening to you, and then after after listening to you and stuff like that, and then talking to the happily angry lawyer yesterday, and like finding out that like you could just be arrested for knowing somebody in RICO, like, or being associated with somebody,
RICO,
like it's so. I mean, just
We
like
call that GBA. We
I
call
feel
that
like
GBA
I've
here.
been
Crazy.
sheltered my whole life. You know what I mean? After the last 2 days of listening to you guys, I feel like I've been.
We made up a fake charge years ago. We made up a fake charge years ago when I was working on that 4-man team. It was called felonious mopery. So if you turned around and pissed us off, like we were at an area trying to do something, and you would have guys come in and they'd be like, "Yo, the cops are hiding, and we're trying to do an operation." Like, dude, you need to leave. You can't tell me to leave, dude. You need to leave. All right, we're gonna go lock him up. Two of us would turn around and go lock him up for felonious mopery. So we would take the guy to the desk, take him in front of the desk, and the boss be like, "What do you got?" We're like, "Felonious mopery." Now, if it was a new boss, they'd be like, "I don't see that. I don't see what that is in the penal law. Felonious mopery. Where did that come from?" It was a discount summons. We would turn around and give a disorderly conduct summons just to aggravate them. You know, you just pissed us off. So now you got to go appear in court, and now we can get back to doing what you were doing. You know, you wasted our time. But now you made our life miserable. Now I'm gonna make your life miserable. You know?
Is that it? Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
This is
You want to play the
terrible.
game?
Listen, that's some Proctor shit right there.
That's some Proctor shit right
Seriously.
there. Great transition, Nikki.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into it. Go ahead.
So how did you find out about Carrie? How'd you get into it, Scott? I know that me and you have been in chats for a long time together.
Yes, we
A
have.
long time.
We got.
I've been in chats with him. I just
We're
was quiet.
we're the OGs.
I lurked a lot.
We're the OGs that were banned from a chat. But anyway,
we got ourselves banned from chat. That's right.
yeah. But
Together.
when I started modding for Melanie, to be honest with you, I really don't remember anything before Karen Reed because it's been so much. So
Yeah.
I remember, Melanie got into covering the Karen Reed case. And
In
at
January of
yes,
2024.
I was very leery about speaking out about it,
Understandable.
about even watching it because I spent 26 years of my life as a cop and detective. So Melanie's, I'm modding the channel, I'm listening, and the first day that Melanie put the pictures up of John O'Keefe's autopsy, I knew immediately that he wasn't hit by any vehicle. I knew that
I showed my sister's boyfriend's a police officer, and I showed they came over for dinner, and I showed they don't hear about all that stuff, and I showed it to him, and he's like, he was not hit by a car.
No, I knew immediately that he was
definitely
shooting in the arm, and I knew
No
he wasn't
broken
hit by a
bones.
car. Exactly.
Yeah.
He's been doing it 30 years.
So
to
like,
him,
can I ask
too.
you something,
He's like,
Scott? What does that feel like? What does that feel like to you when you look at those pictures and you're like, but like I'm a cop, and you're making me like these cops are lying? Like that must be really hard for you to process because you've spent your whole life doing something.
It was
your
embarrassing.
integrity has been
right?
so much up
Your
here.
integrity.
Like, you're now there pulling it down.
It was embarrassing. It was aggravating.
Yeah.
All right. You know how you guys mod for Tom. You know how when Tom does a call in, Tom usually asks the caller, if you met Karen Reed, what would you say to her? All right. Tom didn't ask me that question. And you don't know how relieved I am that he didn't ask me that question. Because I would have, to be honest with you, I would have told Tom, I don't want to meet Karen until after everything is done because I'm embarrassed.
Yeah.
That's embarrassing.
It's like a shame thing.
We don't see that just on police. Like, I don't look bad on police. There's bad apples. They just happen to have a lot of bad apples in that area. You know what I mean?
It's all over.
Only specific to this case, though, because of Brian Albert and Chris, and there's a reason that it's so bad with this case. Because, like, if you look at other cases that they did investigations on, they had evidence bags. They had everything that they needed.
Proctor did an amazing investigation on Brian Wells. He did everything to the book. So that's why when it comes to this, like, I don't know how Bev can like put blinders on when she was on both cases at one point. It's secondhand embarrassment. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. And you know what? It sucks to be quite honest. Because
honestly, Blue Eyes, I feel that way about the anti-Karen Reeds too.
You know what?
The secondhand embarrassment.
When you talk about it, if you remember, I really didn't talk or type into chat a lot when it first started,
Right.
because it's not that I didn't want to alienate myself. I kind of didn't believe it at first. I mean, that it was a cover up or them framing her.
Yeah.
But as you go deeper
Well, it's
into it,
hard to believe that many people would be part of it.
and that it's lasted this long, that they kept their mouth shut.
Yeah.
But I mean, I to this day I'm still embarrassed. You know, like I mean, if they
Yeah.
turned around, if Bev dropped the case next week, and there was a big party
won't.
up there, and we all got invited, you know, I honestly don't know if we were in a room like with Karen, if I would go to meet her, because I'm still embarrassed. You know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was one of them, and these guys
No, it's
Yeah,
funny.
but
made her life
It's funny you
hell.
say that. I always think about that. I always think
The
about that
difference
when
I
I
see
see
is
the
that
state troopers out in front of the courthouse. I always think to myself, like, I wonder how they feel. Like, do they have that shame wound? Like, I can't believe I have to stand here while this case is going on with all these people and cameras and all,
Yeah,
you know. But they show up and
I
do it because
honestly,
that's their job, right?
it's
I
just
think some
it's
of
a
them
thing.
though probably believe in everything that Proctor and them
I
are-
get.
what
Oh
their
yeah,
wife is
I
doing.
would
Oh, probably,
say
yeah.
with the amount of stuff that's come out now about what went on with the investigation, I would say it's probably 60-40 now that cops believe that Karen was framed. You're
Yeah.
always gonna have that group back to blue. I'm not a rat. This isn't about being a rat.
Yeah.
This is about you putting an innocent woman in jail because you made a mistake or you took something too far and you're not going to own up to it.
And
they
then you
made
thought she'd plea out, and she didn't.
yeah, exactly.
She didn't
I mean,
do what
it's
you wanted her to do.
obvious.
And
You know?
someone said that today on TikTok today. They were like, she should have taken a plea. And I was like, why would she plea
Why
for
would you
something
Why
take
would
the
you
plea?
plea
to
out?
do?
I do get it. I do get it. My wife and I were talking about a while ago. My wife didn't want the whole trial thing up until I guess it was probably about 3 months ago. You know, she was watching her videos on TikTok or whatever she was watching on TV, and I forget what happened. Melanie was reading something, and something just fucking snapped, and
Yeah.
and like now, the first thing when she gets home from work is what's going on with Karen Reed. You know,
That's my husband. My
Right.
husband's a secondhand watcher.
Yeah. It's
I
the first-
remember when
Doesn't
we couldn't
actually-
even talk about Turtle Boy in her chat.
Oh
She
my
was like,
God! You know what?
she holds her stuff down.
Hey,
And you know what?
I will
And you know
give
what?
her that.
I love me some Melanie Little all
Me
day,
too.
every
Me
day.
too.
I will be in her
Huge
chat
fan.
all the time.
You know what?
Mhm.
And I understand why she did it, because you know what? You don't know the person, okay?
Right. Understandable.
And not only don't you know the person, maybe you're only seeing what I saw at the time. I didn't watch his channel because I didn't know who the hell he was, you know?
Right.
And, all right, yeah, some of the stuff he does, he may take too far. But if
Wyland, yeah,
it
that's him.
wasn't for him,
Yeah.
nobody would know about this,
Right.
you know?
Facts.
Yeah, nobody
I
would know
mean,
about it.
Yeah.
That's
You
the thing.
don't
People
you don't
say,
have to
well,
like him. You don't have to like everything he does, but you can't deny that he's busted
that what
his
he's
ass,
done has brought
and
attention
he's
to it. Yeah.
and it's wrong.
And that's why he's being railroaded because of it.
Exactly. He's being railroaded too, you know?
And that's the thing, like, when people on X, when I first got on X, and I didn't realize what the cesspool of anti-Karen Reed was when I got on X. Now I enjoy it. I had to figure it out and ease myself into trolling. I'm pretty good at trolling them now. So one of them said today something about Nan being with Aiden the other day, and it was Good Time Julie Carp. That's who it was. Good Time Julie Carp. She decided to say something about Nan being with Aiden and how dare she and stuff like that. And I was like, it sucks to be that jealous of Nan that
Yeah.
she's probably smarter than the entire anti-Karen Reed group.
Oh, without
together.
a doubt.
100%.
And that's
I
your
met
problem.
her, and she is literally the sweetest, kindest, so smart, so she is exactly who she presents herself to be. She is incredible. So anyone who's talking about her is jealous and just ad hominem because they can't find anything else.
You call her a
to say,
grifter,
and usually
she
that's
does
the
nothing
intelligent,
but
unintelligent.
give money. She doesn't grift. She doesn't take money. She gives
She's
it.
giving
So
it.
how is
Yeah.
she a grifter?
Yeah.
I mean,
Because people have no
So
common
Scott,
sense.
makes me crazy.
Yeah. Shoot.
Yeah. So Scott, so you got into it, Melanie got into it, and then she started reading documents, and you're seeing these pictures, and you're
Just-
like, what is happening?
This is
So
insane.
then,
All right.
yeah.
So Melanie showed, Melanie was showing the pictures of John's autopsy, and then we saw the picture of the car and the house, and I knew immediately that Karen was not hit by any vehicle. I mean, you have. I don't want to throw people's names out there, but you got some of the people that have their own YouTube channels that think Karen's guilty. Okay.
Yeah.
What investigative experience you sat behind a computer and you're saying Karen's guilty because you made a video where it shows a person bouncing off a car? Guy, you're not in my league. I could have been
With
the
a
worst.
huge martini glass and a little stick person.
I could have been
bent
the worst
over.
detective. I could have been the worst detective in NYPD, and I'll run circles around your investigation. Okay?
Right.
There is no way that Karen hit John with any vehicle, and it's black and white. The problem
Before I
is,
came on, I saw Dream Feed Media did a video, and in the beginning of her video is a guy that is a body shop appraiser, and he's got like a rack of ribs, and he's trying to break a Toyota a light, and he's like smacking it, and the ribs exploded.
Impossible.
Not even they didn't barely touch the taillight. I
Yeah.
think it cracked like one little piece.
Well, that's what I'm
and
saying.
he
The
was
taillight would
smacking
never
it
have gotten
hard.
touched.
exactly.
Yeah.
Scott, when you saw that they used the solo cups and the Stop and Shop
Oh
bags.
my God. All right. Here's a disclaimer. Our unit, the unit that I worked for, we were kind of like a stepchild of the Detective Bureau because we worked in the subway. They didn't think that anything violent happened in the subway. All right. Yeah, we dealt with about 35 people hit by trains a year. I know what a body looks like
That's a
when
lot.
it's hit. Yeah. Well, that's nothing. Manhattan usually has about 100 a year, believe it or not. But using solo cups, I can understand how the evidence in the hospital, the bags, because I've seen it. It happens. When a person's brought in as a trauma victim to a hospital, the first thing that the nurses do is they cut the clothes off, all right? And they take it and they throw it on the floor, okay? And it's in a pile.
Yeah.
Or it's a pile,
Right.
or it's a couple piles, okay? And then somebody will come in and take those piles and make them one pile and put them in a plastic bag. The problem with that is DNA evidence like that isn't supposed to go in a plastic bag. It's supposed to go in paper bags, all right? But number one, the hospital's primary job is to save that person's life, okay?
Right.
Number two,
Right.
they're not detectives, so they're not worried about DNA evidence. But getting back to the scene with the red solo cups, first off, the first cop on the scene, I forget his name, the first cop on the scene, when he got out of that car, his first thing should have been on the radio, okay, give me a bus forthwith, which is an ambulance forthwith. I got a guy, here in New York, it's called likely to die, okay? Whatever the
Okay.
term up there is when somebody's, not going to make it, all right? The second
It's like,
thing he should
yeah.
the second thing he should have done was got on his radio and said, get me detectives out here. Okay, that's the second thing he should have done. Third thing he should have done was when more uniforms showed up, secure the house. Okay? Somebody take the two witnesses, separate them, and somebody else secure that house. All right? Go see who's inside. Make sure there's nobody hurt. Make sure there's nobody dead inside that house at 34 Fairview. Okay?
That has
Now-
like blown my mind the whole time.
Let me tell you
Did you
something.
check to see if
I
he
don't
was
care.
okay?
I don't care what rank the supervisor was from Canton PD on scene. All right.
Yeah.
Whoever it was doesn't know his ass from his elbow and know about the emergency exclusion rule. Okay. We've done it. When you got a hurt cop or a dead cop on somebody's property, you know what? I'm kicking that door in and I'll worry about the consequences later because I'm not looking for evidence. I'm looking to find out if there's anybody whose
Bye,
life
Glenn.
is in danger in that house. Okay. Once you turn around and establish that there's nobody's life is in danger or injured in that house, that's when everything stops. Okay. You separate them. Now you have somebody get on the phone and get us a warrant.
That's
But
my
the
thing.
problem,
He
the
Yeah.
problem,
refused
Scott,
to go
is that
in.
nobody knew that he was a Boston cop, though.
Yeah, because
Yes,
she
they-
said
no one
a
called it
man
in.
down in the snow.
I know.
They knew when they got there, though.
Exactly. You got, who was it? Jen or whoever it was that was with Karen? Whoever it was that called,
Jen.
knew that John was a cop. Okay.
They all knew. Yeah.
Yeah. They all did.
I've listened to thousands of 911 calls because every job that we got in the detective squad, we had, no matter what it was, the first thing when you're starting to do your typing is you have to listen to the 911 call because your introductory DD5, what it's called, when you put in the cases on February 25th, 1991, I received case number 489, an assault that occurred at the DeKalb Avenue subway station. I interviewed the 911 caller at phone number blah, 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 blah. And this is what the 911 caller said. I then reviewed the 911 call itself, and this is what was said during that 911 call, okay? When has anybody ever known a cop that got hurt and didn't call 911 or call for help and say, hey, so it's the guy that's on the ground is a cop. There's a cop on the ground. All of a sudden, you just say,
I know, like, I would have called and said,
officer down.
Exactly.
Like, it's all,
when has it not happened? When has it not happened?
Instilled in us, even as civilians, to say officer down.
Exactly.
Sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When has it not happened? Only in Canton.
Like,
only in Canton that night.
I've learned a lot of things happening.
Bet your ass if that was Brian Albert laying on the lawn, they would have called the feds. Like,
exactly, the helicopters would have came. Everything else.
Fugitive unit, like a fucking bells and whistles.
And somehow that would have been Karen's fault too.
Oh, listen.
You know what I mean?
I don't want to speculate, and I've really only made comments on Melanie's channel or anybody else's chat. Like, I didn't go off on anybody in the family that was in the house except for Higgins and one family member. And the one family member I went off of is a peripheral because of just how he looked and how he acted. But when it comes to Higgins, all right, I've worked with the feds when I've done the bodyguard work, okay? I know how the feds act. I know what the feds do. I did it for 11 years when I was working with them. And for you to turn around and get rid of your phone on a military base that the public doesn't have access to, that the local PD doesn't have access to, that's a little suspect.
Yeah,
and they take your SIM out and destroy your SIM card.
They were sussing out their phones.
Phones don't even have SIM cards anymore. Why would you feel the need to take your SIM card out and destroy it?
Well, let me tell you this.
The thing, they knew that no matter what, whoever, no matter what they did, they could burn it, they could do whatever. If it was anywhere that anyone could find it, an IT person could extract the data.
Exactly.
So Higgins, being paranoid and an ATF agent, was like this and drove near the Cape and got rid of it on a military base.
Exactly.
Because
when nobody has
that's
access
normal
to it.
behavior.
Yeah.
No one has access
remember
to
when
it.
Turtle Boy tried to drive on the base?
Yep.
Do you guys remember that line? Turtle Boy tried to drive on the base, and they were like, "What?" And he's like, "I just want to throw something in a couple trash cans, so you guys can't find it later." I was dying. It was so funny.
Like that whole investigation is fugazi from start to finish. And what burns my ass the most about the Karen Reed case is Proctor. Okay, Proctor has gotten me to the point. Yes. There's only one person that I'm more mad about than Proctor, and that's Guarino. And I wrote it in the chat, and I will do this if the feds are watching.
Shameful.
I will come up there, and I will. You mean
Nicholas kill me, Guarino?
Fanning.
I will. Fanning, you know what? Fanning's a scumbag. All right, let's call it what it is. But Guarino is worse. Guarino, in my opinion, is worse.
Actually, Guarino
willfully ignorant. Yeah,
no, that's not willfully ignorant. And it's if you notice what I've written in everybody's chat, including Melanie's, there's a difference between incompetence and corrupt. Okay, and let me tell you, Guarino is not incompetent. Guarino is corrupt. Okay,
you don't miss 30.
You don't miss 30,000 text messages. All right. And
he's covering for a cop that was touching a girl since she was 12.
And
to have that road, he said that the road that Aiden went on, that's the one that was like
the incline
that caused the phone to do that. And then Aiden drove down the road, and I was like, "Whoa, this is the most craziest roller coaster I've ever been on." It was so flat. It was literally like you were in Florida. There was nothing.
I understand why active cops haven't come forward, and it's not that they don't believe, and it's not even that sometimes it's hard to believe when you're in a profession like that you could have guys that are that corrupt. But part of the problem is like I explained to Tom, I think it was Tom. All right. If you come forward and you criticize or say Proctor did this and somebody else and Fanning did that and this one, all right. Say you're working a 4 to 12 tour and you're out working by yourself and you pull somebody over, all right, and you're fighting with this guy and you're calling for help. Who's coming?
They won't come. Right.
Exactly. Or they'll take their time getting there and you're fighting for your life. So you know what? If I just keep my mouth shut until everything is said and done, then you know what? Then I could turn around and say, hey, he got what was coming to him. Or you know what? Yeah,
Good
you know.
I have
So
a question.
it's hard. It's hard for an active cop. I mean, I understand it, how you guys feel and how civilians that weren't cops feel, because I feel the same way now that I'm retired. It's disgusting.
and you
I'm
can talk.
aggravated. I'm embarrassed. Yeah.
Well,
But like I
people
said,
kept complaining.
I won't speculate. Again.
Oh, people
It's
kept
hard just to
complaining that there
delay.
was no one but Dougal at the court for John. And it's like, at the end of the day, these people, their lives are on the line. Like you just said, like no one's coming for you because you're the rat guy that was talking to or sitting at, behind Karen, or not that there's any room for them, but they're losing their pension and they're losing all of these things. And a lot of those guys probably do support that Karen Reed is innocent, but
yeah, I'm sure they do. But you know what?
Me too.
It's
I think
it's
so.
a matter of survival. It's what it comes down to. It's a matter of survival. And like you guys understand it, there's a lot of people that don't understand it. And I kind of get that. But you got to remember something. When you're working in a sector car by yourself, all right, say it's not the busiest area, not the most dangerous. Stuff could go like that. And you could go from writing somebody a ticket to fighting for your life. And it happens more often than it doesn't, Right. So I get it.
Yeah.
I get the outrage and I get the anger. I do, because you know what? I think speaking for myself and probably a couple other cops, like the guy from Carolina, and I know there was a couple other New York City cops that called into other shows that were retired. We're embarrassed. Do you know what it feels like to turn around and you know that these guys framed an innocent woman? Like,
it's a disgrace.
It's a disgrace.
Well,
and you know what?
when
Even though I'm retired, it still reflects upon me, because I was one of them.
Framed, you think of the movies. You don't think of something.
You don't think of it like this in real life. Frame shot.
This is far surpasses anyone's writing ability, though.
It does.
It
does.
Why you can't write this?
Like I started watching. I got onto the Cam Reed case because of Melanie and her coverage of the pre-trials. But when I started, I literally at first I was like, "There's no way! Like, there's no way that this many people are involved." But honestly, like you can see it, and I don't think that everybody knows everything. I think some people are involved just by association. Because they're part of it. I don't think they actually have knowledge of anything, but they just look guilty because they're part of that section.
GBA, by association.
Yeah.
Like yesterday we were talking to Hal. He was talking about YSL RICO. This is like a huge RICO case. It doesn't even matter. Everyone's 6 degrees of separation, and everyone has a part, whether you know it or not, because you're doing someone a favor. You're just like cutting corners. You're doing this, you're doing that because you know the person. And Proctor is 100% that the girl did it. So they're just like half-assing everything. And the fact that they got up in the stand and said that getting a warrant to go in that house, like you said, you bust down that door. The fact that they said they would not get a warrant to go in that house.
They said they had no probable cause. There's a dead body on your yard.
All right. Now that you brought that up, all right. I forget who I said. I think I wrote it to Melody. All right.
I agree, Amanda.
There's a thing called accreditation. Canton PD was accredited back then. And when the last time I looked it up, they are currently an accredited law enforcement agency in Massachusetts. All right. There are certain guidelines that you have to show that you provided training for your officers and the equipment and stuff like that. If Canton PD is an accredited law enforcement agency in Massachusetts. One of the criteria is that they had to have training in securing crime scenes, securing evidence.
Right.
What happened on that night or that morning? And
Yeah,
how are they still accredited? What's it called? The
To be fair,
NPHC?
though, to be fair, nothing happens in Canton. Like Duckgate and Canton, I mean, in Karen Reed, the whole like biggest thing that's ever happened. I mean, they get like they have quota to pull people over, but nothing happens there. It's
But
like
you know
a
what?
little quaint little town.
Amy, it's a
I feel
ground
like
ball.
they pulled it on themselves though with
All right,
Brian Albert.
but just doing the basics of a crime scene, even a
Oh, yeah,
rookie
no,
fresh out of the even fresh out of the academy, all right,
Yeah.
secure the area, and even if you don't have tape to put it up, you know what? You put cones up. Don't go in this area.
Right.
Don't go in that area. All right, get me
And-
detectives. And you
The
know what?
fact they were gone by 8:30 in the morning or 8 o'clock in the morning, like they left it wide open for hours.
and you're not talking, and you're not saying it was a suicide. I mean, my partner and I, we've had crime scenes that we wrapped up of suicides. Suicides were wrapped up. I think the quickest we ever did it was
Hey, lay down,
two
buddy.
hours. 2 hours. We've had shooting crime scenes that lasted 12 hours. We had one scene that lasted 24 hours, and we didn't have to stay at the scene. We had uniforms stay at the scene, and it was indoors in the subway station. But we didn't, we're keeping this secured. Why? Because we need stuff done. Now, here's the kicker, just so you know, like they said that they used their phones to take the crime scene pictures. If they took any, we used our own phones for one reason and one reason only. New York City is so big, they have what's called CSU, the crime scene unit, which Ed, I forget his last name. Ed was one of the top guys in the crime scene unit, all right?
Love him on Duty Ron.
Yes, his
Yeah.
unit,
Ed Wallace.
his unit
Yeah, that's it.
wouldn't come to scenes in the subway for DOAs because they were too busy dealing with shootings, stabbings, and stuff like that. So what would happen is we improvised. When I first got there, we were using what are those cameras called? With the Insta pictures.
Kodak.
Kodak,
Instant.
whatever it was. We were using them when I first got into the detective squad in 06. Then they had gotten us a digital camera. Okay, so we were using digital cameras to take crime scene pictures. The problem with that is they got the cheapest cameras. So when you would go to plug it in to download the thing, stuff would get deleted. So we just turned it on.
And it would probably have so many pixels because it wasn't like a higher rated camera.
Yeah,
that
we
it
were
wouldn't
using
even worth it.
We were using our phones. I mean, I remember the first phone when I got into the detective squad was a BlackBerry. I've got my BlackBerry from 06 and the other 3 phones that I had for the detective squad because I've got crime scene photos on there. And even if I deleted them, they're still in the cloud. You know what?
Right.
I'm not taking a chance in the public getting a hold of them.
That's what I don't understand with the Jim McCabe thing.
They had government issued phones though.
I'm with the Jim McCabe thing. I don't understand how, like, our stuff backs up. My stuff backs up all the time. It goes to the cloud.
Same.
Like, I will get a new phone and it just comes all back up. Even stuff that I've deleted will show back up. Like pictures I've deleted show back up. Like, she must have known because of Matt being in IT exactly how to delete that completely off the phone for them not to be able to extract it. That's the thing that gets me.
Or it was Guarino when they asked for her phone.
Or somebody close to her deleted it for her.
Right.
Matt McCabe, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, she doesn't seem like she knows how to get into the right, but I'm just being petty. But nonetheless,
well, like Hal said yesterday, was he didn't believe that she actually did the search. She thought that maybe it was or he thought it was actually Proctor because Proctor says when he's looking through he says when he's going through her stuff, is actually going through the phone. He doesn't say he's going through the extraction. He was going through the phone and he said he came across text messages. And that's what tipped him to a different direction the other day.
Interesting.
So
that's a good point.
And that's as a lawyer, like looking at it. So like as a
Yeah.
cop looking at it, it's got to be a whole different.
Yeah,
different
you're looking
scenario.
at a different angle. Trouble, we got any questions, Trouble?
Oh,
She's being quiet.
yeah,
You're
listen.
quiet.
Oh, you're being
Listen,
awfully quiet.
trying to get between these two hens
Go ahead.
and had to fucking ask questions.
Go ahead,
Shut
Trouble.
your face. Shut your face.
We need a talking stick.
I said that earlier, didn't I? In a text message.
Yeah.
When we had,
Well,
like,
the
a hand
problem
up.
is there's also a delay
Anyway,
with
let
StreamYard.
her ask a question. Yeah.
Yeah, Kelly, shut
Go
the fuck
ahead,
up.
Take it back. Take it back.
Oh my God.
No. So
I'm getting my burn book. Watch out.
What I wanna
1.5,
know,
my
right?
burn book's coming out.
is with the whole thing with Proctor, right? And because they're buddies, and the whole thing with the Birchmore case, like how is that not like what is it, IA or whatever?
Internal Affairs
Oh,
Investigation.
internal
Yeah.
affairs. Yeah.
Like how does that not get looked into like that?
The problem is, I'm trying to figure out a way to explain it. All right.
And how do what they do is not enough to get 5 days,
Some-
only
all
5
right.
days gone.
Somebody is calling the shots. That's high up somewhere, because
Yeah.
the feds have already said that Guarino missed 30-something thousand text messages between Sandra and the other, whatever his name is.
I hope someone
Barlow.
knocks him out.
He
Yeah.
didn't miss him, Scott.
I know.
Yeah, we didn't miss him.
I know he didn't. I
This
know
was
he
him
didn't.
looking for them.
I know.
I don't see anything. Where do you guys see
That's
them?
th-
I don't-
like I said, there's a big difference between incompetence and corrupt. Okay, what he did is obvious. He didn't miss 30,000 text messages. He chose to ignore 30,000 text
Right.
messages. Okay, now why he hasn't been brought up on any charges yet? Let me put it to you this way. All right, how do you get into a unit working for the DA's office? Do you think it's because you are a Massachusetts state cop and you were on whatever highways up there and you wrote your 100 summonses a month like a good little boy?
No, because they know you'll
know
do what you want
someone.
to do.
There you
That's
go,
how mass
Amy.
works, though. You have to know
But,
someone.
Amy, it's not like that up there, just there. It's like that in the NYPD. It's like that in all the police departments out here. To get into a unit like that, or any unit, yeah, you know what? You can bust your ass as a cop, but you still got to know somebody to get into the upper tier units. All right. So for them to get into those units, they know somebody.
Yeah.
It may not be their parents. It may not be their grandparents. It could be an uncle that knows somebody. Let's just call it what it is. For you to get into a unit like that, you got to know somebody. You're not just a
It's
good
like-
soldier, you know.
What's it, Caitlin?
Yeah,
is it
you're
Caitlin
right.
Albert that was in the Attorney General's office?
I have no
Yes.
idea.
So, One
Yeah.
of them's working up there. I think it's Caitlin Albert is up there working.
She works in
the
like
Attorney General's
insurance
office.
fraud or some shit. Yeah.
See,
Yeah,
I'm a little.
But this is the thing. So
upset.
like all of these people are connected somehow,
Yeah.
and they're probably lifelongers. So like their father was a cop,
Yes,
their
yeah.
grandfather was a cop, their sister was a cop. So it's, like,
Generational.
Yeah,
generational. Yeah.
yeah.
For sure. And
But
and
they-
like look at Meatball.
Oh my
What?
god.
Well,
But you know
I
what?
will tell you, as an outsider looking in, knowing that he's been NDA for 30 years and run unopposed is shocking to me.
Not only that,
Because
he
that
was
doesn't happen.
disappointed to it
There's-
over somebody else. That he wasn't a prosecutor, was he? He was just dropped.
Yeah, I mean, he went from a prosecutor
Come on.
to the DA. Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Was
he's
he a-
like 100
yeah.
years old, and no
Yeah.
one has ever, because I think that there's like generational things with him too, and he has it in with like the governor's office, and there's just so much. There's so many layers to this.
There is.
I will say
It's an
there is
onion.
one.
Like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah, it is. It really is an onion. That's exactly a good way to describe it,
Yeah,
because
it
it's
is.
like, but I also don't want to lump everybody into it, because I don't feel
No.
like
No, you can't. lump
there's
everybody
a
into
lot
it.
of the people that are employees or like that are politicians in the areas and stuff. I don't feel like they're like that. I feel like it just takes a bad look,
Yeah, it does.
because Norfolk.
Well, I
and
live in Norfolk County, and the
stuff
town
like
that I live in, the police force is incredible. Like
Yeah.
incredible. They're all awesome. And they give back to the community. They're all incredible. All of them that I've met are really, really good people. Hold on one second.
Good.
One
You're
moment.
fine. That's like my sister's boyfriend, Jason. He was, I don't know if you saw it a couple years ago, Scott. You might have because it involves a police officer, but the girl she was in Tavares, but here in Florida, it was a cop. She had pulled over a car around 5 o'clock in the morning. And the girl opened it up and had fentanyl and blew it in her face.
Yeah,
and
that's what
she, like, instantly went out. The camera, the body cam was my sister's boyfriend. He's the one that gave her Narcan and saved her. And
She's
so
lucky.
he ended up having to help her. He had to give her Narcan twice because it was so bad. But so like for us, the little town things like that, like to us, the cops are a good thing. And it's so for me, it's almost like, you know, like I say, I feel like I lived this sheltered life because my dad was a firefighter. You know, we have family members who are all police officers and stuff like that. And there isn't the corruption like that. These people, all the people I go to high school with are
not, you know, like not your family, but down in Florida is wild.
Yeah.
Like you live in the wild
Miami, West. Miami, stuff like that.
You live like a mile away. Yeah, like
Lake County,
state's
Florida.
off the hook.
Lake County is where I grew up. That's where I grew up.
They hand out Darwin Awards.
Wild.
Doggy bag.
I grew up in Lake County.
Lake County is where half the guys I worked with now live. They all
That's
live
where
in Lake County.
I grew up. Leesburg, Tavares, Eustis, Mount Dora, all those Umatilla.
The wildest things happen down there.
I graduated from Tavares High School, but like, and that's where my sister's boyfriend is a Tavares police officer. So I mean, but all those.
I think it's Claremont. Like half the guys I worked with, half the guys I worked with was in Claremont. Yeah.
So Claremont, my cousin actually lives there, but it's on the other side. So it's the back side. If you take a long way around to go to Orlando, you go through Claremont. So, but so I mean, it's not as big as you think it is. People think Orlando is huge. It's really not that big.
It looks big. It looks.
It's not. Yeah, I mean, when you live here, I mean, like, so Pulse is downtown, right? Everyone knows about Pulse shooting. My house is 6 miles from that, but I don't feel like I'm anywhere in that world. Like when it happened, I felt like I was so far removed from it. Like I knew what was going on, and we were all trying to give blood and all that stuff. We were so far removed from it. It didn't feel like we were
part of it. Yeah,
you know what I mean. Where
here you can't miss Karen Reed because there's standouts on every corner in every town. I've seen people with signs for Karen by themselves on like a Tuesday at 1, just holding a sign.
Yeah.
I think that's amazing though. Like, she's changed the world. She's literally changed the people's views in the world. And like, she's going to go into history books. And I think
without a doubt.
It's
and
amazing.
You know what? With Bev's rulings the last 2-3 weeks, like mainstream media is now starting to see, hey, wait, there's something more behind this because of Bev's rulings. Yeah. Exactly. And you know what? I was a little hard on Vinny. I mean,
same.
Like you I in my opinion, you got to make a choice. Either she did it or she didn't do it based upon the evidence, all right? And I understand, I was a little hard on him, because he's on TV and stuff like that. And you know what?
Yeah, but I see why you are.
Get it. I kind of get it now. Like his livelihood, what's paying his family's bills is his
just
job.
like the cops.
Yeah,
they just keep their mouth shut.
Well, he had Ronnie the juror on, and I'll tell you what.
Did he?
How did I miss that?
Ronnie, or I told you Ronnie was making his rounds yesterday. He
had him on. And
how about the lawyer, the one that got dismissed? That whole thing that Christina Rex put out about how she was like, "This is
I have okay." I saved it on my phone.
I got to see that one.
So one of the last juror that got removed is a retired lawyer. And she wrote this whole thing that Christina Rex put out that she published. And it basically says, like, shame on you, Massachusetts. This case should be dismissed.
Yeah. And she would know.
To sum it up,
Here it is. I was a fair-minded juror who left this trial questioning the integrity of the system long before the defense filed a motion to dismiss with allegations of jury tampering. It is the Reed case itself and the fact that it is still being brought that has left many in Massachusetts wary, distrustful, scared of our system. As a lawyer, this reality saddens me even more because I remember how much faith I had in our system as an optimistic law student. Mr. Brennan made an impassioned argument today regarding his alleged concern that some might be questioning the fabric of our entire judicial system. If he truly would like to address that problem, I have a few suggestions. Perhaps Norfolk County District Attorney's Office should be more focused on remedying the systematic issue plaguing it and affiliated police departments rather than continuing to spend millions of tax dollars prosecuting a case with so many evidentiary issues that it calls into question whether they are even following their ethical obligations as prosecutors. The Commonwealth has a duty to protect the right of the defendants, and I, for one, would love to see them do so.
That's incredible. Get it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
she came in
I will
hot and
also-
put her whole name. Her whole name.
Oh yeah, her whole
Government.
everything.
She was like,
she said her
"Come
name,
at me."
everything.
I'll tell you what. Let me tell you something. The Fed. For argument's sake, let's say the feds close the case. All right, that's enough right there for them to turn
Reading
around
is
and
for
go,
rich people.
we want to have a chat with her.
We've been
Let's
waiting.
go have a chat with her.
They're
We've been
not
waiting
gonna
for
do it.
something.
Well, I
I'm
mean-
kind of losing faith in the feds. I really am. I mean, I've seen usually an average federal investigation is 2.5 to 3 years from what I've seen. So
I don't believe it's over.
I mean,
myself.
I kind
think
of
it's
don't
over at all.
believe it's over. I think it's wrapping up now. And
it might
I
be
think,
there's
I
portions
think-
of it that might be
Yeah.
over.
yeah. And the question
It's
is,
still active.
I mean, in my opinion, they could have went in already. They could have collared Guarino for
It's too big of a case for it not to
pamphlet.
have huge aspects.
I understand that, and like everybody's like Aiden and Will and Melanie and other people will say that
The Supreme Court.
Karen, no,
area?
Karen will never be convicted. Okay, let me tell you something.
But
If
will
Dave-
she ever
if-
be exonerated?
It's not even that. These people have kept quiet that have been witnesses about the truth for so long. Okay, it's gotten to the point now where if you tell a lie for so long, you actually
You believe
believe
it.
it. You believe
Mhm.
it. So now it's at a point you're talking 3 years.
That's diabetes.
Oh,
That's right.
diabetes, nice.
Huh.
Thank you.
You're
Nice of you to join us.
I mean,
Listen,
and
I'm
this
not
trial
allowed
is
to talk
supposed to be
much on
happening
here
in
right now, but
Go ahead.
Yeah,
Go
yeah,
ahead.
Nikki.
Pop in.
Come on, Nick.
I
say
mean,
hi.
if we get Kevin up
None of-
here, none of us are going to talk for the next half
Nobody
an hour.
will talk.
So, I
We
mean,
love
what
you,
do you got to
Kevin.
say, girlfriend? Yeah, we love you. What do
What
you,
you
do you
got,
want to
Nikki?
hop in? Like, what do you
The
think
floor is
about like
yours.
the next trial? Yeah, talk, girl. Just cut in. I cut off.
listen, I'm
There's a
just
delay,
here-
honestly, and so
There is a
like
delay.
I don't when the delay happens, so I might start talking, and then all of a sudden you guys start talking, and so I'll shut up real quick because I feel like okay. So there's a delay. It's hard.
Nikki, you're up.
No. I'm just saying, like, I fully believe exactly just that. Like, they actually believe in their heads what they're saying. Like, at this point, I fully believe
think-
that.
I think
Go
that
ahead,
they
Kelly.
do. I think you're right. I think they do. I just don't
Yeah.
think that there's like I don't know how to explain it. You're right. They do believe that they didn't do anything wrong. Like they are good with everything. So that's but like
See-
how do you explain having
Who's this?
how do you explain having a text message to like active to Tully to say, oh my God, TB was in my camera? Like the fact that he was able to text Tully in the middle of the night and get a warrant, you know what I mean? To get a report and stuff done. That just makes no sense to me.
No, listen. If there are cops that have access to high-ranking bosses, like I could have texted one of the assistant police commissioners anytime I wanted, because he's a personal friend of mine at the time. When I was prior to me retiring, but I didn't because our relationship is outside of work. He was a police commissioner at work, and we saw each other at work. But I didn't say, "Hey, Kevin, hey, what's going on? Hey, Commissioner." If it was just the two of us, "Hey, Kevin, how are you?" If I was standing there or he was standing there with other bosses or other cops, "Hey, Commissioner, how are you?" That's how it is. Now, obviously, relationships differ. So, their relationship with the Massachusetts State Police and the Canton Police Chief, or soon to be probably under investigation Canton Police Chief, differs. I mean, that's
It's
really
right here.
interesting. What you say? I don't have my glasses on.
Oh, honey, it says make Bev do a bench trial. That would be epic. Oh, actually, it says gangster move of the century. I like it, Penny.
I would not want Bev
No.
on a bench trial.
And you
I
know what?
wouldn't trust that
Either.
with my life.
All right.
If I was Karen.
If you
He
if
did
you go
fine
back,
with Penny McGee, but not with Karen.
yes, I agree with that. You know what?
Yep.
And if you go back to the chats, Melanie's chat and a few other chats, when they first appointed Brennan as special prosecutor, the first words that I typed into the chat were, "Don't underestimate Brennan," and I was laughed at.
I
was
agree.
laughed at.
People were actually saying they thought he was gonna, be.
Yep.
Oh, he's gonna come in. He's gonna drop the charges because he's on the side of the defense and all this other stuff. And I was like, I don't think so. Like and
I'm
now
gonna
he's
pat
done,
my back. I'm patting myself
all
on the
he's
back for
done
that
is prove like he's a slimy rat. Like that's all
Yep.
he's proved to me. Just
He-
what
Bro,
he
he's
argues,
a mob lawyer.
one.
This is
Exactly.
what he does. And this is
When
why
he
this is why they
argues-
hired him. He's a thug, just like them.
right. When he argues, I want to shower after he's done arguing. Like
Yeah,
I'm like,
it-
okay, Jackson,
yeah,
come
it's
back
just
because
bad.
I need to go shower because this is gross. So I mean,
Yeah.
it's just.
He don't
But then again,
give.
I'm good to look at Jackson and Yannetti and hell, Alessi gets cuter every time he opens his mouth.
Let me tell you
So,
something.
I love
That
Alessi.
fan, oh my God, when I see that fan.
Oh my goodness. I did miss
I made
it
a
all that
TikTok
time.
of the fan.
Same.
The fan.
I
Thank you,
made a
Nikki.
TikTok. I TikTok. I took a 30-second clip of the fan and I put it to "If I would have known, we wouldn't be here."
I want to play the
yeah.
fan in the movie. I want to play the fan in the movie.
Ah! Who would play Beth?
I want to know what
Who would
that
play
fan
Beth?
really knows. That
That-
fan knows some secrets.
A lot. That fan knows a lot about a lot of cases. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah, and I wonder
know
if there's
all the
any
secrets.
cameras hidden in that fan where people don't know.
All right. What else you got? Come on. Come on, Nick.
Kevin.
Fire away.
Does anybody
Huh?
have any questions they want to ask Scott?
Yeah.
Because we do have to wrap up. TB's on in like 20 minutes, and homegirl got to get her little guy to bed. So, if there's any questions in the chat that you guys want to ask Scott about anything, Karen Reed, about his career, anything,
Fire away.
because today is really special. He came up and hung out with us tonight, and I really appreciate it.
I've learned a lot. I appreciate it too. Thank you.
No, it's my pleasure.
Yeah, Scott is
Yeah,
awesome.
thanks for coming on, Scott.
Yeah,
Finally.
my pleasure.
Took you long enough.
Right, talked about distractions, yet he's becoming the
I
biggest
agree.
distraction for 2.0.
I agree. He is, and it's like he's becoming that one person. Everyone's reaching out, trying to get information from him, and I feel like they're not paying attention anymore to what it's about.
I have a question.
What do you guys think? Go ahead.
Yeah, Nick.
With your cop buddies, I mean, obviously you got cop buddies, but have you asked them what they think of the case, if they know about it?
Believe it or not, I have one cop buddy that I'm sorry. I have a group text messages of the last the last team that I worked with. We're in a group text message, and two of them have no clue about it. The third one, the only reason why he found out about it was because he asked me one day what I was doing. This is probably like 6 months ago, and I was like, yeah, I'm modding a show for an attorney that has a YouTube podcast, and she's doing the Karen Reed case, and he asked me what was going on, and I explained it to him. He goes, yo, it's all over this NYPD site. Somebody just dropped a whole bomb about this lady, Karen Reed, being framed. I'm like,
No
dude,
shit.
let me tell you something. I've been following this since before the trial started. And I'm like, yo, they framed her. And my buddy's like, you're kidding me. I go, how bad? I go, bad.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Wicked
So
bad.
I really don't hang out with any cops. The regular guys, like my one buddy is a postal worker. My other buddy works construction. My other buddy has his own IT company. That's how I found out about text messages. When I was still working, so I retired in the spring of 17. I had a case, and I had been pulling text messages from somebody and cell phone records. At the time, cell phone providers were supposed to hold all text messages for 7 years. Now, whether they did so or not is a different story. But they were supposed to hold text messages for 7 years. So, yeah, whether they did so or not is a different story.
Well, I mean, honestly, if you think about it, how many of these little cell phone carriers that have popped up over the years that are up and down, like you know that they haven't been able to carry.
They get bought out though. Data would go with it, right?
Yeah.
I
Yep.
mean,
Yeah.
you would
So it's like
think-
even though it changes hands, the data's still the same. So like
Like,
their
I went from-
servers and things would still be able to pull they'd be able to get it. Things saved for I think it's like 7 years by legal law.
well, and now they transfer
Yeah.
the phone numbers over. They just unlock
Yeah.
the number. So
Right.
hopefully they're able to transfer that
Yeah.
data with it at the same time, because
Oh, wait.
otherwise it's weird. But like for me, I went from Verizon, then we switched from that to AT&T, and then AT&T switched to Singular, and then switched back to AT&T.
Yeah,
You know what I
brutal.
mean? And then we went to
Yeah.
T-Mobile. So I've been all over the place. Now I'm back with the Verizon.
I started with AT&T. From AT&T, I went to Nextel, and then
Yep.
Nextel was taken over by Sprint. I think it was Sprint.
The big
And
bird.
yo, they
I
robbed
loved
me.
my Nextel, Scott.
Okay, so Nextel was big in Florida, but I wasn't here. I lived in California at the time.
Nextel.
So
Oh, bummer.
I showed up with my Razor, and they're all like these big walkie-talkie phones, and I'm
Yep.
like, "What the heck is going on over here?"
So good.
When Sprint took over Nextel, I had just gotten into the detective squad. So it went from having a couple phone calls a day to like, yo, you're the new guy. Pick up lunch for the office. And oh, by the way, there's a guy stabbed at this train station. By the way, you've got a detail tomorrow. So my phone started going nuts. I had like a $400 phone bill for 1 month. I was like,
Right.
done.
They
Nextel's
used to be
gone.
so
Done.
expensive.
Paid the bill
Yeah.
and switched to Verizon. And then,
So that
Remember when you had to
my
text at
husband
night
now.
because they cost per text message?
Yep.
Like during the
Yep.
day, you're like, call me after 7.
Yep. At one point, it was after 9. Text me after 9. Text me after 9.
Right. 9. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, there was
Yeah,
a question for you, Scott.
Good.
Do you,
Go ahead.
Scott, do you think the jury's going to find Carrie not guilty? Anything comes of the two families, cops or just walk away?
To be honest with you, I think it's going to be a hung jury again.
Yeah, I do too.
I think so too.
I think it's going to be a hung jury.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
I think so too.
You
I
always,
mean,
And that-
it
and
just
you-
scares you. Like I believe it's gonna be a hung
you're
juror,
always going to
but
have
it just
people
scares
that
you.
are going to be. It is scary. It
Yeah.
is scary.
Like I could not
Um,
imagine being Karen or her family. Like
No, I
This-
can't.
this
And,
day,
and you know what?
this week emotionally tore
mean,
me up. So
I mean, we all see Kelly Reed in the chats, you know, in Melanie's chat and all the other spots. And you know what? I wouldn't have
Yeah.
a problem meeting Kelly Reed or meeting Nathan, but I could
Yeah.
not look Karen in the eye right now. I couldn't.
Yeah.
Even if she was found guilty, I mean, even if she was found not guilty, I could not look Karen in the eye.
well, I hope you
I couldn't
know
do
that
it.
none of us look at you in that sense. And I know
I'm
that
not a
she-
cop hater.
Like,
No, I know none of you are. I know
No.
we talked about this. I
Well,
appreciate
it's
that.
just, I know
It's
you had
just-
the
it's just
embarrassment, but I don't want you to think
It's
that.
Maybe when I was
embarrassment.
20. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't. I
listen,
don't want you to think that we
listen.
think that.
Listen, I wasn't always a cop, okay?
No, I know.
I was a
I did bad things though back in my day.
Yeah,
So
what do you
I didn't
think?
like cops.
do you see
I don't wanna come
angel
across
info
them.
to me? Trust me, I was far from an angel. I'm not going to discuss it on camera, but let me tell
No,
you
no, I
something.
know.
I was no angel, okay?
Yeah.
I don't believe
Most
it,
cops
Scott.
aren't.
So you guys
No,
are
and you know
telling
what?
me, wait,
actually
your
helped me out in my
halos
career.
were hung by your horns? Is that what you're
Yeah.
saying? You had
Yeah,
horns
that's
that
it.
hold up.
Yeah,
That
that's
was me, and I got in trouble for it. So I don't
Yeah.
know. I mean,
No,
at
I
least
got-
I found my people. I found my people. Everybody
got-
else has their horns holding.
I
the
got in
halos.
some legal trouble when I was a upper teen, and because I knew somebody that was there in the precinct at the time, my record,
Girl.
I didn't wind up with a record. Otherwise,
Okay.
I would have been charged with a felony, and I would have never got the job.
Right.
Right.
Yeah,
Count your
I
blessings,
mean,
right?
and not for nothing. I really didn't do anything wrong. Excuse me. It was GBA, guilty by association.
Yeah.
That's what I was involved in. I was involved in something that I was guilty by association. I was in the wrong place at the wrong time, and if there are any teens watching this or parents, if you have any teens, like I've put this into my nieces and nephews' heads. If you think something's gonna happen, you need to get out of there. You've got the rest
I
of
learned
your
that young.
life, and you know what? You need to get out of there. You know
I'm
what?
thankful.
You may lose a friend or two, but you know what? You
Oh,
need to
well.
look at the rest of your life. And
I used to
like,
think I'd be happy for my kids just to not have kids in high school, and now
yeah,
I'm just happy that they don't get in trouble.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
that's
Like
how it is.
I'd rather have a grandbaby. Just don't get in trouble because I
Exactly.
your life
Yeah.
would
When
be
things
okay.
pop off, watch out for yourself, because it's either you or them, and I guarantee you
Exactly.
they're going to throw you under the bus.
Exactly. You know how many people that I've actually got confessions from that turned around and threw their brother under the bus or their cousin under the
No.
bus? Oh yeah.
Hey, you know
I
what?
Oh yeah.
want that to happen so badly.
I have people in my past that didn't do great things.
No,
It is what it is.
we all do.
But my first, I already know. My first word is lawyer.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Well,
don't
see
talk.
you know what? The only thing I wish that some of these creators would do when they say don't talk to a cop is you gotta lay it out though. You gotta turn around and say, all right, if you're suspected of a crime, don't talk to a lawyer. Because you have these people under no people in the chats, under no circumstances don't talk to a lawyer. And you know what? I mean, under no circumstances don't talk to a cop. Well, you know what? If that's how you feel, go call a priest when somebody rear ends your car. Go call your
Right.
local reverend. Go call your
Right.
local reverend when somebody breaks into your house. It's
agree.
got to be. They have to realize the context of it. And I've told.
That's very true.
Excuse me. I have two nieces. I have two nieces and two nephews. My two nieces are going to college not far from you. Okay, and I have the one niece. She has this embedded in her brain, and this is what I taught her: admit nothing, deny everything, ask questions, blame someone else, and if all else fails, run. And
Amen.
my
I got
niece,
that from dating criminals my whole life.
hey, it worked. But I told them, I said, listen, you
At
get
least
pulled
you
over by
learned
a cop,
something.
you get pulled over by a cop, you be respectful. The cop can be the
Yeah.
biggest jackass in the world, but at that point, you know what? He's the one in charge. No matter what you think or say or do, you deal with it afterwards. I understand you're going to be upset because I've had guns pointed at me by other cops while on duty because of the way my partner and I were dressed. We were thrown against the wall. I've been thrown underneath a parked car. Yeah, well,
What?
most
What is happening?
Yeah.
Scott,
This is why I don't
I
go
would-
out.
don't
This
you
is why I
have
stay
like a
home.
chain with like your badge? You're like, come on, please. I'm one of you. I'm one of you.
Yeah, but we didn't want anybody to know who we were. So
Oh, yeah.
we were just milling around, hoods up, just milling around. I'll tell you exactly where it happened. It happened in Bushwick, Brooklyn, which was a big heroin spot back in the late 80s, early 90s. When we finally started doing plain clothes, we were following somebody that we were pretty sure had a gun on them when they were leaving the subway station. So what happened was we went out the back end of the station, and Bushwick at the time was predominantly Dominican and Puerto Rican. So when we walked out, if we would have walked out with our hoods down, they would have seen two white guys, and that would have been it. So we put our hoods up as we were walking out. We didn't know that 8-3 anti-crime, who was looking for a gun collar, sees two guys as they walk. They don't see us. All they see is the hoods go up. So as we go to follow the guy that we think has a gun leaving the subway, next thing we know, get against the wall. And my partner and I are thrown against the wall. Now we've got guns on us. I've got a gun on my hip, and I've got a gun, and I've got a 38 in my shoulder holster. He's got the same thing. We're like, yo, we're cops, we're on a job, we're on a job. And they're like, what do you work? We're like, we're transit. They're like, where's your shield? Why don't you have it out? Like, Jackets, we're following that guy over there. We think he has a gun on him. Oh, we're sorry, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, we almost got killed.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, and if they saw that gun before your shield, can you imagine?
It happened. Amy, when I sent you that list, it happened in 92 by me. I was a rookie in 92, and the cop's name was Derwin Pinnell. If you Google it, Derwin Pinnell came out to class after me, and there was a pilot program. We had just gotten a new CEO. They put a rookie cop with a senior cop on. The cops that work daytime, they put them on overtime into the 4 to 12. We had a robbery condition out in Canarsie, and real quick, this cop was a New York City sheriff before he became a cop, so he knew it all. Well, they went to go follow a lady that jumped the turnstiles. When they took their shields out, she took off running. She ran down the stairs, and then she ran up between the tracks and the factory. Now, we had a lot of gunpoint robberies on those stairs. The 4 to 12 anti-crime team is coming in. They had her at gunpoint between the tracks and the building. The anti-crime team gets off the train, runs through the station, comes up behind them, pulls their shields out, says, "Police don't move." And what does the rookie cop do? Turns with the gun in his hand.
Oh
and
shit!
they lit him up.
No.
Yeah.
They lit him up?
They lit him up. Lit him up. Luckily,
Jesus.
they were bad shots.
Did he kill him?
No, one shot hit him in the neck, and one of the other shots hit him in the vest. Luckily, it's bad to say, but luckily he was only shot twice. He was temporarily paralyzed, and he got a payout. But the fact of the matter is, that caused a lot of change in the way plainclothes operations were done in the transit police, and then in the NYPD. Because believe it or not, a year later, a transit cop was shot in Midtown Manhattan by an off-duty NYPD cop. He was shot, I think it was 6 times in the back.
Wow, that's
Oh
wild.
my
In the-
God.
in the
6
train-
times? Isn't that a little excessive?
Olivia had a question for you, Scott.
Yes,
Oh.
yes.
Before it goes up, it says,
Yes.
"Did you ever have a code like in Law and Order SBU?" She said, "I know it's a show, but they have to see a color of the day if they're undercover until the cops knew."
Oh, yeah.
color-
It's like getting a drug test.
There was
Pineapple.
the color. Whoa. Wow.
What? We're
That's
at
a safe
pineapples
word.
now. Wait a second.
Calm down over there.
The color of the day.
What are you doing tonight?
The color of the
Mickey!
day.
Going to bed.
The color of the day when I first came out of the academy, there was red, yellow, green, orange, and white. And I don't remember the exact year, but they had to get rid of yellow and red because Bloods wear red and
Right.
Latin
Latin
Kings wear
Kings.
yellow. Latin Kings wear yellow. We used to wear the color of the day was a band that I personally I didn't keep it. When you went to a major police incident or you stopped somebody, what you were supposed to do is take the color of the day out and put it on your head as a headband. Okay, we didn't do that shit. I wore the color of the day on my wrist for a reason.
Smart.
If I'm stopping somebody and I have my gun out, what is the cop looking at? He's looking at
toward the gun.
and he's going to see the color of the day on your wrist.
Yeah.
So
Right.
the guys that I worked with and the guys that I trained to do anti-crime, they wore the color of the day on the wrist. And yeah, you would have your shield out and stuff like that. But when you're a detective, like a lot of people, I mean, I'm just going to say it. I really didn't wear my vest when I was a detective. None of the guys, if we had 12 guys in my office, 10 of them didn't wear vests when we went out. The only time we wore our vests is when we were going out doing hits. If we decided that we were going to start at 5 o'clock in the morning and we had 5 people identified for robberies, we would put our vests on. But if we were doing stakeouts, like I've done stakeouts, we didn't wear our vests. I mean, yeah, is it kind of looking back now?
Were you afraid to be made because people would
No,
look at you
no,
and okay.
Absolutely not. Excuse me, absolutely not. We didn't have typical police cars. Believe it or not, our cars were leased from Connecticut and Massachusetts. So I drove around in a Mitsubishi Galant. I drove around in a what's it called? A Dodge Caravan. I drove around in a I'm trying to remember what it's called. Yeah, they started because our parent command was called Central Robbery Division. So we fell under the Central Robbery Division. They didn't have regular police cars. They took the regular police cars unmarked, gave them to commands, and they leased us cars. We had leased cars, and we would get cars that were leased, and they gave us a specific location to take them, and they would put lights, they would put flashing lights in the car and a siren, and that was it. And when it was time to return them, they would either redo the lease or send it back to the guy, and the guy would take the lights out. Yeah, so we got chased. People had no idea who we were. People thought we were Hot Solar, the Jewish ambulance. People thought we were them
I've only seen my naked cats.
because they had, you don't see a Mitsubishi Galant driving around with lights and sirens.
No.
Or a Dodge Caravan.
People get hemmed up by like Suburbans around here, like GI Joes pop out.
Well, I know like a lot of undercovers now. Like it's all like when they like if they bust somebody and they impound somebody's car or whatever, they like a lot of them use those.
Believe it or not, legally, well, at least here, it's hard to do that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it comes under asset forfeiture. NYPD had a special unit that did it. There was certain criteria that asset forfeiture would get involved. You know, money, cars, stuff like that. You
Yeah.
couldn't just turn around and take somebody's car and say, hey, we're confiscating it. And even if you did that back then, it would take at least a year before the courts would say, all right, yeah, because it was a narcotics car and they were transporting drugs, you could take it. You know, yeah, it would take a while. You just can't take somebody's car. But then again, you're up in a state where apparently certain police officers can do what they want. So
Yeah. Whatever they
Yeah,
want.
Norfolk County can do whatever the hell they want. Mass State
Yeah.
Police do whatever
Hey,
they
listen.
want.
Listen, we got 5 minutes left. All right.
Yeah.
I want to play a game with you guys. All right. I made up a game yesterday. It's called Character Kill Off. Pick one character from a TV show and kill them off, and tell me why. You don't have to tell me how you did it though.
Character kill off, huh?
Yeah, one character from a TV show.
Any TV show?
Any TV show.
God, you threw me off on this. All right.
Wait, what TV show? Law and Order SVU.
No. Amy.
Anything.
We're gonna play a game. Character
it.
Kill Off.
Oh,
Pick one character from any TV show. Kill them off. You don't have to tell us how you killed them off, but why you did.
oh, it's like a murder mystery. Okay, I'm down.
Good.
What like I have
Pick
someone
one.
in mind.
Go ahead.
Pick a show.
Yeah, pick a character and kill them off. Why?
Three's Company.
Who? Who'd you kill off?
Cindy.
All right.
Cindy.
Why?
What show?
Oh,
Three's Company.
shoot. Why, Kelly? You're muted. Three's Company. I used to love that show. I used to watch it when I was a kid. I was distracted. I missed that whole thing. I appreciate you, but I did not hear a thing.
Go ahead, Trouble. Who you killing off?
Okay. So, have you seen Shameless?
Part of it. I've
love
seen a
that
couple
show.
episodes. Yeah.
Great
All
job.
right. I would. I love her, but I would kill off Fiona.
Okay. Really?
Really? Such a
Are you
choice.
serious? That's
Really?
that's like
Cutthroat.
painful.
I love
That
her. I'll
hurts.
kill her. That's fine. Just
Yeah.
That hurts a little bit.
All right, Kelly, you're up.
So if you know anything about me, I don't know if you guys know all this, but I'm a supernatural freak.
Okay.
And you didn't know that?
I didn't learn something
That
new.
look at your face was crazy. So my dog is named Crowley, which is one of the characters on Supernatural, and I have a cat, Winchester, which is their last name. But I would kill off Crowley.
Really? Okay.
Interesting.
All right.
And not my dog. The TV
Yeah,
show.
I would hope not. All right. I came up with this game the other day because there were 3 characters on TV shows that I watched that annoy the hell out of me. All right. So I'm gonna go with the one that was the last to annoy me. Big Bang Theory.
I
Never
love
seen
that
it.
show.
Raj
Never seen it.
Kutapalli, I'm throwing him out a window.
Wait, which one's that? Well, who?
The Indian dude.
Oh,
Raj.
yeah, him and the one with like the speech impediment. Just one like, I
Raj-
take my earrings off.
Raj is going out the window.
No,
Raj,
I
throw it
would
out the
be
window.
Crowley.
I would kill off Phoebe on Friends.
Oh,
Facts.
yeah.
Facts.
Well,
Yeah.
that was one of my choices until what's his face yesterday. Who's the one that was chasing Jennifer Aniston around and had the baby with her?
Ross.
Ross. Ross is out. Ross
Oh,
gotta
Ross. Yeah.
go. Ross gotta go.
They were on a break, okay?
Sorry, but Ross is no longer with us.
It was just a break.
Like and subscribe to get my 1 million subscribers.
So yeah, I didn't.
We
I
will.
didn't really
Thank
think
Thank you.
Crowley was the devil in Supernatural. So for me, it would just be he was just so evil that I would want to take him off. But yeah, I thought you guys knew that I love Supernatural, like
No.
everything.
No, I had no idea. 90210, I kill off Brenda.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Done.
Oh my God.
See ya.
Yeah, I gotta
Yeah.
agree with that. All right. What was that show? 2.5 Men with
Oh,
Charlie-
yeah.
Charlie Sheen gone.
Mhm.
No. What are
Yes.
you nuts? Nope.
Charlie Sheen gone.
Alan Harper is
Hold
going
on.
over to the beach and he ain't coming back up. Alan
Women with
Harper.
the bitches.
Alan Harper is not going to make it. I'm sorry, he's no longer with us.
So my other favorite show is The Walking Dead. And I would I think that
That's a good one.
I would kill off
I would kill off all of them standing.
Yeah, I got to agree with Nikki on that one.
Yeah.
Oh, hell
I
yeah.
just
No!
snoop it. See ya.
For
Yep,
me, it would be Carol.
dies.
Carol drove me crazy.
They've changed
in The
guests so
Walking
much. The
Dead.
only two
Eddie
consistent
knows.
ones, that Italian lady and Whoopi Goldberg, who looks great, by the way, for like 100.
Petty knows. Alan Harper has got to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alan Harper's
Alan
gotta go.
Happa. Yeah.
Yep, Alan Harper's got to
The
go.
little boy always like, I don't know. I'm terrible.
He was a little,
Oh.
what we got?
I can't help it, Amanda. I get so hurt.
I go
get
for
hurt
Kelly
so
right out of the
personally.
gate.
I get hurt
listen,
by these people
Scott's
that
the
they're
guest.
picking.
Babe, Scott's
It's fair.
Scott's the guest. Amy's my girl. Kelly, sorry, you're getting sacrificed.
I do know. Listen,
Sacrifice.
I do know for a fact Nikki would cut someone for me.
Oh yeah. Oh,
I do
that's
know.
obvious.
I know that
Oh,
for
no.
a fact.
Yeah.
Hands down. Yeah.
I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say I heard.
I see.
Heard in the chat that
We'll see what happens later.
Kelly's
I see.
Nikki tell Amy, yeah. Oh, you need my help? You can call me anytime. I really wouldn't help you off the
Here's
body,
the
but
thing.
if you really did,
For
I might.
me, it wouldn't be taking one of them. It's murder suicide, baby. We're all going out.
Right.
Nope.
Yeah.
Not just
Nope.
one of us. We're all
She's
going
like,
out.
not this guy. No.
Nope.
All right,
Can't do it.
guys, it's 9 o'clock. I've had so much fun.
Scott, you're
Turtle
the
Boy's
best.
on a little bit. Yeah, thanks,
Yeah,
Nikki.
he's
Thanks,
on
Kelly.
late tonight.
We
He
gotta
said
do
he
this
posted
again, Scott, for
9:30.
sure.
Absolutely.
Yes.
It was my pleasure.
Would you come back
I
on with
appreciate.
us?
Thank you
Oh,
for
absolutely.
your service, Scott. Your
Listen, it
service
was my
that you
pleasure. I had a lot of fun.
put into
I
the
had a lot of fun
community
doing
is
it.
huge, and I
Yeah,
thank you for that.
you're-
And honestly, like, I've learned a lot from you tonight, so I appreciate you
Yeah,
coming
me
on
too.
and
Thank
sharing your
you.
knowledge with
Thanks
us.
for having me.
Next
Yeah.
time I'll be
And
able
you're
to
a lot
talk
of
better.
fun.
Yeah,
On the
Well,
other
I'll get you a
hand,
talking
Nikki,
stick. You can wave it.
Nikki's
a
getting
red
cut
flag.
tonight.
Yep.
Listen.
So that's fine. We're just
Yeah,
gonna
I'm a talker. You know what I mean?
No, I
unstable
couldn't
girl.
tell. No, I couldn't
Huh?
tell. I couldn't tell.
The
No.
unstable girl's getting chopped tonight. So
Stop. We love.
Right.
I love
Scott, we
both
gotta
you
do
girls.
this again
I
for
love
sure.
Scott. Yes,
you
I
guys
had
are
so
my
much
babies.
fun. Yes,
Thank you,
I love
chat,
you.
for hanging out with us.
Bye, everybody.
Petty has
See you.
cracked me
A
up.
pleasure being here.
Yeah, see you over at Turtle Boy.
Yep.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Peace.